We're live.
All right. So welcome, everybody. I'd like to call the special meeting of the Pueblo West Metro Board to order. It is November 21st, 8:33, something like that. Call into order. Can I get a roll call, please?
Good morning, Board of Directors. Taking roll call, President Vickers.
Here.
Vice President Axworthy.
Here.
Director Pasternak.
Here.
Director Potter.
Here.
And Director Roberts.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Can I get a
second that motion?
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Greg, you want to lead us, bud?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, thank you. Do we have any public comments?
We have not received any online, and we do not have any currently in here.
Okay. So no public comments. Any director's comments?
I don't have any today. I'll have some for the next session.
Chris?
No.
No? Bill?
Yeah, I just apologize for not being there today, guys. I had this scheduled a few months ago, so at least I'm here in spirit.
No, thank you for jumping on online. I appreciate it. Rodney?
Same. Apologize for not being there in person. I need to get to do that at home. And appreciate everybody's hard work and effort in getting this going. Thank you.
Okay. I don't have any comments. Christian, you have any comments?
No.
Okay, moving on. G, work session discussion. First one up is the 2026 proposed budget and comp ratio policy.
Good morning, Board of Directors. Christian J. Hine, District Manager. So today we do have a special meeting. As a reminder, we have two major topics that we're covering. There was conversation discussion around the 2026 proposed budget, and specifically a little bit of questions and conversation around our compensation ratio rubric and the policy they're set. And we also have the Aquatic Center or Indoor Pool Conceptual Design update and discussion with Ascenza. I believe 10 o'clock is when we're expecting Ascenza. So we have about an hour and a half where we're going to try and cover as much of the first topic, but just know when they arrive we may break and then transition to that. So the first one, and so everybody should have either printed in their email, or for those on the virtual, it is displayed. There's going to be a couple things that we'll go over. One is a quick memo discussing a little bit of feedback we heard, responses with what we were looking at and what we've done since, to kind of capture when we're talking about the budget salaries. Previously, I think last week, I sent an email with the compensation ratio as far as a presentation that had previously been done to the board, which is what inspired or instilled or initiated the discussion about that whole policy to provide feedback and context for how it came to be. And then at the end of the memo, and we'll display it, is a table just to show by fund and by department the changes that have been thus made or we're proposing to make for the 2026 proposed budget. In the onset, or I guess to encapsulate it, the 2026 proposed budget that you saw, we talked about earlier this November, that we delivered in October, had budgeted salary numbers that were not reflective of actual salary costs. A couple things came up with questions about that. One, as you look at the 2026 proposed budget, you only see three columns: audited 2024, estimated 2025, and proposed or to be adopted 2026. And as folks pointed out or recognized, there's a huge discrepancy in, I think, across the board when you look especially at 2025 estimated to 2026 proposed. And there's a couple factors that occur there, just to make sure everybody understands. One, the budget, if you look at, and I'll give me 1 sec to scroll down to this page for those online. If you're looking at page 2 of the memo, figure 1, what you'll see in that is the budgets, estimates, and audits that we have for these 3 years, 2024, 2025, and 2026. When you're looking at the red, those are all budgeted figures. When you're looking at yellow, those are all estimated figures. And green, the only ones we have audited to date would be 2024. Those are audited figures. If you look at how the 2024 budget compares to the 2024 estimate and the 2024 audited, you can see right up front, even before compensation ratio, before anything, we typically over budget from what we actually experience. And there's several factors that cause that. Number one can be turnover. When we have turnover, obviously any position not filled is not being paid. And depending on how large that turnover rate is in that particular year, it could be larger or grosser. And depending on how long that position is vacant, can have other effects to it. Even going into 2025, as you compare the estimated, which is typically whenever we start closing off the preparation for the proposed budget, oftentimes that's sometime between July to August. We are taking estimates for either halfway through the year, 7 months, 8 months through the year, and projecting for the rest of the year, assuming all things remain consistent. You can see in 2025, that estimate is pretty far from what we actually budgeted for. When we're looking at 2026, as you can see with each red graph, it is still increasing from year to year, and those budgets include obviously the base salary, any COLA, any new positions, and then any adjustments we're doing in our budgeting projections. The reason 2026 looks even larger is we projected much higher because of what we were anticipating with compensation ratio and still not having enough data to project what it would look like. Talked about it the last time. I'm going to actually pause and ask if there are questions about what compensation ratio is after we had discussed it last or from the presentation material sent last week.
So your compensation ratio is driven by this Rubik software program?
Driven by rubric, yes. There's a template. It's not pre-built software or anything.
It's proposing a 12 to 14% increase?
So the compensation ratio rubric itself is not. I'll differentiate. There is the rubric, which is the template and how we assess individual pay. And then there is compensation ratio, which is just, has nothing to do with the rubric at all. It's just your range, your salary range from minimum of what you can make to maximum. When I'm referring to the 1.0 and the 1.05, we're just talking about our budgeted projections, not the actual rubric impact.
Okay, and how does the rubric software interact with your counseling and merit promotion system, as you know it?
So they're completely detethered from each other, as there is no merit base when it comes to the compensation ratio rubric. It is objective, certification, education, experience, longevity based.
So that software, basically, my interpretation is drives a salary increase across the board to make the excellent, satisfactory, and unsatisfactory performance to employees. It brings them to the same level, which to me it would be disparaging that somebody who's working harder or carrying someone else who's a lot, who is failing at their position they've been hired for, is going to get a salary increase. So, to me, that's not fair and consistent for the employee base.
So I'd be happy to talk a little bit about differences between merit-based and objective-based. I'll share if it's okay, President Vickers, you and I had a good conversation, I think, last week, and I think there could be difference of opinion of what the best tool or metric or how you look at it is. The current system does not recognize merit-based. It does, there are ways to do performance evaluation, provide feedback for it. But the folks who are seeing salary increases are bringing something, a certification, their education, the years of their experience here, to be able to justify or necessitate a salary increase or a raise in some form or fashion. That is again, objective process. It's not a blanket, everybody's getting the same one. If you are able to show and deliver that you have a skill set that can then be assessed by department directors, district manager, as something that applies for that position, that is how you're getting that increase individually, not blanket. I think there are differences of opinion when it comes to merit-based versus objective. I shared mine previously. I will caution just in this conversation, evaluating and developing a merit-based will take time to be able to do and create a system that would be able to do that. I don't think that is something we're going to accomplish within this budget cycle. If it's something we would want to, and at the end of the memo, CR rubric deep dive and evaluation of additional practices, I do make a recommendation if that's something the board is interested in. We obviously can do that, we can take guidance for it. I don't think anybody realistically is gonna have the data, the analysis, a projection, and a proposal to actually be able to institute for 2026.
Okay, so my first question, and you gave the same information at the last meeting, in regards to developing a certification. So when do they get the perk for getting that certification? Is that upon getting the certification?
If their certification is approved in their rubric, it's upon them delivering it to their supervisor or HR,
Okay,
assuming it's
so
complete.
typically, if someone gets that certification, when do they get their salary increase?
Usually at the next payroll. Or if there was a delinquency or any issue where they submit it and there's a delay, so long as they show proof of submission, it's backdated to that. So it's not necessarily the date they got the certification. If I got mine today, I waited 2 months to certify or submit it, it'd be 2 months from now.
Okay, so I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Somebody gets their certification, then they go a whole year without utilizing any of those aspects of that certification. And we're gonna pay them for not performing in that level within their certification?
So each
That's
certification is
disparaging.
approved by the department director to be something that is tied directly to the job position that will provide benefit for them to perform their job duties.
Right, but I've had many certifications in my military career and law enforcement career. Not all of them were utilized
Like
in
airborne.
the environment
Yeah.
that I was employed for.
Yeah, airborne and demo pay you get regardless in some cases, so long as you meet within 1 year time frame. Works the same way.
So do they get the salary increase after performing within that certified field in a year, or they get it immediately upon certification?
So, for instance, wildland firefighting certification, they may or may not have a situation that they call for wildland fire. But if they get that certification, they're now qualified to be able to respond to that. And we are essentially giving them that pay raise because they are able to do that at the time that they would be called upon to do it.
Okay, have you ever seen anybody get certified in a certification and then they never utilized it, or they never lived up to the expectations of what you were looking for within that certification? Because just because they got certified, and let's say their grading curve is a 70 percentile online digital questionnaire or in classroom, either way, but then they're not performing within that certification, and we're gonna bump their salary up without performing within that certification to verify that, oh yeah, this person knows their skill set, yeah, they deserve to get a salary increase.
So I think what Greg's leaning towards is, if we're going to pay for certifications and then bump their salaries accordingly, then it needs to be something that they can utilize in their job. I don't see why someone would go to get a certification that would not do that. But, and I'm not sure what HR policy we would have that could limit what classes or things that we would pay for the employee. But I imagine, anything that we would pay for would benefit the district, right? So let's just make sure we have a policy and issue that to all of us so that we can review it. Would that satisfy your concern there?
Now they're echoing. Hold on. This is the problem. I get an echo sometimes. So explain that in layman's term.
So if an employee gets a certification that's outside of their purview of what they do day to day, then, I'm not sure we should be paying for it, number one, and then we wouldn't give them a bonus on top of it if they're not going to utilize it, right? That's pretty much what your concern is?
That's what I'm saying, there should be
Okay.
a 6-month to a 1-year evaluation period. In the 6 months, or either quarterly, you say, hey, you got this certification, but you're doing nothing with it.
Yeah, so my,
So you either kick it in high gear, or you're not looking at a salary increase come the end of the year.
yeah,
So
I mean, that's all supervision.
I'll give you an
If you ain't
example.
got the guts or the gumption to confront a poor performing employee, okay, to get them up to standard, then we need to get rid of them.
I don't think we're talking
Yeah, we're
about
not.
that.
yeah.
No.
So
But I'm just
let me give you
saying,
an
if they get a
example of
certification,
a
they need to
certified
work
pool
within that area.
operator. Certified pool operator. Our parks folks will go out and do work on a pool. So for your instance, that would be a certified pool operator, would be a certification that they would get paid for it because then they can do certain activities with the pool. If there is no pool, what would we test them necessarily on?
Exactly. No, and I know we got like 6 or 7 employees within parks who are certified. Because I requested that material, when the pool was shut down.
To your point, Vice President Axel, you probably provide the template, here's all the list of the certifications available for each position and how they're approved for it.
Perfect, yep, perfect. So I think that would satisfy the certification and the increase in salary piece, as well as utilization of that talent. If I understand your other concern correctly, you're kind of basing it off the COLA piece, off of everybody's just gonna be moved to the mid-range? Is that what your concern is?
Did you say COLA?
Yeah, no, not COLA, I'm sorry, the COMPA.
Not everybody.
Okay. But based on what they do and how they perform and things
In
like that?
every industry, whether it's private or government,
Mhm.
you got outstanding performers, you got satisfactory performers, and then you have total failures.
Right.
And at
There's-
some point, between the time where they just meet the satisfactory level to their failing, they either need to be counseled, retrained, and they shouldn't expect across the board a salary increase because of a system or a software program is driving that. It's not fair to the employees.
So let me backtrack, because we covered a lot of this information a couple years ago. So good valid point, especially if you don't know what's all involved. Christian, do you have that information, how you break down what it would take to increase through?
Yeah,
Are you able to show that?
let me send something real quick.
So for instance, coming from a starting salary to mid-range, what does it take to get to that point? So it's all, as Christian mentioned, it's all objective. It's not based off of a supervisor who has good feelings about this person, which gets people in trouble. That's why most people don't do merit-based raises anymore. So it's all very lined out, specific, objective. You either did or you did not meet this, and that's how they base their increases. So
Yeah. So here's the rubric, a template, and it's usually a 2-page document. The front page is a facer that helps show exactly what you're being evaluated on. It'll show, I'll go over each part of it, but it shows like the big ticket things on the back. Typically it shows the actual, for that position, the education required, the certifications available. This is just a blank one, I think, yeah. So if you go to the left, and I apologize for those online. I'm happy to go over this at some point, but I don't have it pulled up right
And we
now.
have these for every employee?
Yes, for every employee. So they go in their employee name, their position, the department, what their status is. It calculates their longevity based on dates. It talks about what their job description describes as their minimum education required. The backside would show the minimum if there's any certifications. For instance, if we said being a director of Parks and Rec, you were required to have a bachelor's degree and certified pool operator. Those are seen as minimum qualifications, just for reference. The way this rubric was developed and how it calculates is across in the middle there in the comp range, you see minimum, middle, max in both their hourly and salary. Those are taken straight from the authorized budget book. The minimum is equivalent to a 0.80. That means it's 20% less than their midpoint. A middle is 1.00, which is exactly at their midpoint. And the maximum is 1.20, 20% above their midpoint. Those ranges being established, that's how we started working with what are the criteria we'd evaluate them on. And that's in that middle portion, evaluation rubric. education and experience are tied together, and go into details for it. Certifications, qualifications. Certifications are worth more. They're usually 80 hours or regionally higher, nationally organized certificates. Qualifications can sometimes be more local. We have, a tech program that's around, a local technical assistance program. They typically make up 8-hour plus courses. Sometimes there are situations like if you're an administrative assistant or if you're somebody who is doing presentations. For instance, I think a question came up about like Microsoft Office, Microsoft Excel, those types of programs. You would have to take an actual boot camp that usually totals more than 8 hours to qualify for something of that, and it has to be related to a position where you're actually filling that. A firefighter is not necessarily getting credit for something like that if that's not something they actually have a tool for. And then longevity, every 2 years essentially counts for one of their points up to 20. Keep it on that, are you able to manipulate the 4 in the K column? Education experience to the right. So, for instance, if you put in a 10 there, you can see that jumps into their factor, and it's recognizing that this person, if they're required to have a bachelor's degree, they have to have 2 levels higher of education and 10 plus years of experience to be able to max that out. Bachelor's degree would mean they probably have a doctorate in that case. We don't see a whole lot of folks around here running around with doctorates. In the high school diploma, you might see somebody who has a bachelor's degree, 2 levels above that would be an associate's and a bachelor's, and typically tied to their position of some type. The value of having somebody in that, and so you put their abilities or their education to work, is that not only are they potentially more valuable in their position, they're also potentially more likely to be able to move up and invest in that. Education and experience were tied together specifically because we have a challenge. It's the only part of subjectivity that I think we have within this, where if you're applying for a position, you may say, for instance, I was a bomb tech. I may apply for a firefighter position. I can make a pretty strong, compelling case to some that being a bomb tech, working with National Institute Management System, working with FEMA, working with all those things, I have translatable skills to being a firefighter. Somebody can make the argument that some of those translate over, while at the same time making the argument that I have never fought a fire in a day in my life. Why should I have that count? The reason we tie those two together is until we can find ideally a better way to be able to understand experience itself is something that we can calculate a little bit more objectively, particularly when we hire people. But each one is capped. And so when we're talking about why we bumped that 1.05 to 1.00, as we were evaluating what the comp ratio rubric was going to do, how it was going to impact the budget, how people were going to utilize it, the big thing that came in question is how fast could they move? And realistically, with longevity,
Urgent phone call.
realistically with longevity and education experience, those are 2 major factors that aren't easy to just pull a lever towards. You can't just go out, get your education and fix, or attain a lot of that. Longevity, it is 20 years within the district before you see that. There's no other stipulations towards it. Certifications and qualifications, which I understand why there's questions and why, when it comes to it, that's where some of the controversy can come from. Those are the levers that individual employees might have more ability to pull if they're willing to go above and beyond to get certifications, qualifications associated with their positions. Even if they max both of those out, they're at 1 because they can't go past their 10 marks in those qualification certifications. They get capped out there, which means education and experience and longevity are your barriers to make sure that those folks can't just suddenly flip what our budget process is and the sustainability of the district. But it felt like a fair way to make sure that the folks who do come in more educated than their position requires or more experienced than their position requires, or for those who have been here. We've talked about longevity. We used to have essentially a payout practice, $500, $1,000, $1,500 for set amount of years paid at the end of the year. The big concern about it initially was that if you look at it compared to what this system did, it was, especially after taxes, less incentivized for it. And we wanted to make sure that we had something that, in this case, would help create a measured progress towards 1.20, or even an unlikely to be able to meet 1.20, because to be maxed out on your salary range means you're way overqualified. And this system at least recognizes that. So longevity helps with that, and it is something we decided was of value because, yes, if I am a 3 out of 5 or 5 out of 10 satisfactory performer, me in year 1 versus me in year 10, there is a difference. In year 1, even as a satisfactory performer, means I probably don't know the systems, I don't know how things work, I'm just learning how the district operates, I'm learning how different things about the district, what that means. Year 10 is I have knowledge at the very least. I've been in my position for 10 years. I understand how these things work. I may either have connections or I may not understand the software. There is value to having the longevity. And just on an offside, very valuable when you're wondering why did we think or do this 10 years ago, and Carol can answer that. That has some value to it. So that is the comparable ratio rubric. The Vice President Axel at this point, this is to be as objective as possible. It does a few things by being objective as possible. Creates a little bit of certainty of what people can understand, what they can be paid. Creates these are the things that we recognize objectively are valuable in your position. 3, keeps us a little bit more likely to be out of legal trouble, because my concerns, and what I shared with President Vickers, a merit-based system has value, has merit. I don't think there's anybody who sits in the room thinking that, gee, if I had a high-performing employee, I would want to be able to compensate them more than a low-performing employee. When and this was slightly before my time, one of the previous district managers had started talking and discussing a merit-based promotion or merit-based salary increases. We had done research and evaluated internally. We started looking at other external agents, other agencies. Most of them recommended very strongly against it because there were challenges of making sure it was a consistent system. We won't invite legal risk. If we have, in this case, 20 managers across the district and 100 employees, the risk of each manager ensuring that they're capable, competent, to be able to evaluate consistently amongst their own formation, team, section, compared to another department that evaluates that, and folks being able to share or be able to, understand exactly what they make. The risk and things we have experienced in the past is that there have been disparities, sometimes concerns of discrimination, sometimes concerns of favoritism or bias that have happened even in the past before we had that system, let alone now a system that might reward merit-based in a way that we don't have a consistent way to ensure it's unbiased and well-practiced. For those in the military, you know that you get performance evaluations and those typically translate to your promotion. We don't at all even deal with pay in the military, and there's challenges within that system despite the training, education experience that goes into making those leaders ideally successful. A lot of them end up doing check the block, and it has some pretty big impacts, and it has nothing to do with pay, other than obviously the promotion eventually. So that's why I've had a personal aversion towards it. The data does not, I haven't seen an example yet that shows that it can. It's not that we're averse to trying or trying to be able to evaluate it, but I don't think that I don't have a personal recommendation to move to that unless it has a proponent to avoid those or mitigate those risks.
So what's the possibility of getting the employees' records on their Rubik's evaluation? That first page you just had up?
Available anytime.
Okay, I think it'd be prudent for all of us to take a look at that and see if there's any consistencies with, okay, we're just putting 7s and 10s across the board, because anywhere you go, you're always gonna have those that are gonna outperform one person and those who will put the bare minimum in because they met the minimum requirements to get hired for that position. Okay? And we see it even more so in our society today, where they expect everything to come to them. Now,
I'm sorry, can I hold you up just for a second?
Promotion, let me finish, please.
Okay.
Merit-based promotion in counseling, yes, can have disparaging results, but that's where equal opportunity comes in place. That's where whistleblower protection comes in place, okay? And they have those avenues to do that. And if they have a union, then they can consult the union with that, okay? But on the same token, I would have more faith in this Rubik's format to see if there's more consistencies in just giving everybody a pass, or seeing that there are lots of inconsistencies between each employees. Okay, because when you just throw us a number and a percentage out there, it tells us nothing about the performance of our employee base unless we entertain their performance individually. We see it in action while we're out and about. Like I see you're knowledgeable. You have a good history, a pretty good head on your shoulders. okay, you're educated, but just all the other employees out there, I don't know what their basis is, what their performance level is each day. Okay?
Bill, did you have something?
Yeah.
Yeah, please do. Go for it.
So I understand that the merit-based system can be preferential, but Christian, by your own admission, you said that the classes or the certifications that someone takes is purely subjective to the department head.
No, can I clarify?
What's that?
Can I clarify that?
Sure.
Subjective in the sense of that department head is going to identify the certification's value for that position. It does go through a process of review with HR, district manager, but in most cases they're, like for fire, for instance, they're tied to the fire academies or CPF or something to that effect.
Can't get certified in basket weaving.
Exactly. Like there's not,
Respect
the subjectivity there is more limited. And when I was referring to subjectivity previously about the experience, that's the hard to be able to identify with third party. Every certification has a third party system at the very least that's saying that this certification counts for X. 80 hours, continuing education. You're right to say that it is, there is discretion with the department heads to identify those, but it's not a free-for-all, is all I want to clarify.
Okay. Also, after a period of time, won't this stall out? I mean, a person can only get so many certifications.
Yes.
I think you also said when we talked, it was 20. That gives them the ability to raise their salary 25%. Is that correct?
I think the example we were talking about was somebody going from min to mid. That was like, and for easy numbers, if 100,000 was the midpoint, 80,000 would be their min. If they got all the certification qualifications, they could get to the mid, which would now be 100,000, where they would essentially stall out. And that is, I think, like a 25% increase, yeah.
So you can't go above 1.0,
Just off certification.
just off certification?
No.
Okay.
So you're at some point, I think the system can kind of become an issue in itself with employees if there's not some sort of performance-based or ability for a department head to evaluate somebody. The biggest problem I have with this is the ability for an employee to a certain extent, give themselves a raise, apart from, as Greg mentioned, performance evaluate. You're getting a raise based on something that you did, which kind of drives our salaries up, which brings up another point. As a government entity, we're limited to funds. We don't automatically get pay increases as a district, or increase in revenue district without a tax increase or some sort of legislative action. So we need to be careful about just blanket raises and raising salaries. These are ongoing costs that they don't go away. Once you've given that next step, it's there and it has to be paid for. I like the merit-based, and I know that you mentioned that there's legalities, but I think we're still having legal issues with some aspects of that. But certainly standards can be put in place, and checks and balances, I think, can be put in place that would give the department heads a little more leeway how employees get more pay. You can look at the employee that comes in, will work all the overtime or will show up no matter what happens. But yet the person that is just getting their certifications, and I know I'm focusing on certifications, and I more to it. but I think it deflates the person that really goes above and beyond, makes that playing field uneven for them.
Do you, oh, sorry.
So I just think the system can be based on merit. Of course, you have to have good standards, and you have to have the department head people too that aren't going to show preferential treatment. But I don't know. I just have a hard time with employees to a certain extent. We pay for the class too. Is that correct for the most part?
In some cases, we've budgeted for trainings, education, or mostly training certification to take place. But it's not a person is saying, hey, I want to take this class, district, will you reimburse me? It's within each department's budget that they have a training education program. Those are typically specified within that budget committee process of the exact ones that they're looking to be able to do. This is not talking about education or tuition assistance. That's usually requested through a formal process, or that is requested through a formal process. So there are opportunities where an employee may find, hey, I was able to take a certification, I'm able to go through and get my CDL through the district, and they will get compensation for that. When we actually, I think it was Vice President Axworthy who brought this up as a potential concern, double paying essentially. You pay for their certification, you pay for the increase.
Good memory.
Yeah, I try. I remember we did the analysis there to show what different ones, because I think at the time I was interested in seeing could they essentially pay the district back. If they take a $500 course, can they pay the district back based on not a garnishment exactly, but essentially restricting some of their pay until it's paid off. In most cases where folks are getting their certifications paid for, it's high-end like CDL, their water plant operator certifications, one that cost thousands of dollars. So that system didn't really work in those instances. Most folks I think we have seen have done it either on their own or within the budget that has been approved for that department director authorized it.
Well, why would we hire somebody? And you had mentioned in our conversations the CDL and the costs for that.
Mm-hmm.
Why would we hire somebody that needed a CDL without a CDL and then pay for them to get that CDL?
So we have trainee positions in the district. C&D and the plant operators are the main ones I can think of. Those trainee positions come in without a CDL because historically, to find somebody who's willing to work for the district's wages without a CDL has been challenging over the years.
Yeah.
They'll go work for Walmart. They'll go work for something that they'll make more money at. So we end up oftentimes finding somebody without that. They come in as a trainee. They don't benefit from the rubric as a trainee. This is the exception to one of our things because we don't have authorized positions for it. They essentially say, hey, I would like to come work for the district. I'm willing to give my CDL, obviously the district paid them for it, and then move up within the district. And there are stipulations of if they leave the district before a certain time of using it, as kind of Greg pointed out, then they are at risk of having to pay it back. I'll share there are challenges with it without being specific, just because you can only take so much of their pay if they do decide to leave, but that's how we handle that. To your point, Bill, just to share, I definitely recognize, acknowledge the merit-based. I know there might be difference of opinion, but I'm not trying to push back or say that it's not something I would say we would consider or evaluate. The two things at the end of the memo, which I have pulled up on the virtual as well, to kind of answer a little bit, is I would be interested in developing a fail-safe mechanism. You brought up, personnel costs continue to go up each year. Do revenue? Do we have the ability to support it? Does it match? And I think that's a fair point and a fair question. So something that it's not refined yet, but the initial thought of it is that we recognize we were evaluating cost of livings going up 3%, and we're looking at new positions that might total $300,000. That comes with it a percentage increase in next year's budget. And let's say it was 10%. We were expecting personnel costs to go up. If we recognize that the revenue for specific funds isn't matching that, not to say technically like the personnel might not be the only thing going up, and it may equate to an overall not that increase for the entire budget. But let's say we recognize personnel to a revenue source is mismatched. We can develop a tool to say, okay, stop. We now have to dive deeper. We have to justify what these things are and either say, yeah, that disparity, let's say 10% increase in personnel expenses, but only a 5% revenue increase, we would have to justify like, well, these are new positions that are required by law, and therefore we're kind of stuck and we're gonna have to evaluate next steps of other things. Or if there's not a justification, we go down a list of certain things get deferred, suspended, or deleted. Whether it's a COLA, whether it's new positions, whether it's hold on the CR rubric or whatever's in place at the time. Those are some measures that could potentially be implemented almost automatically, so that way we don't run that risk. Just to share a little bit about something we'd be working on. And then the second part was the CR rubric deep dive, talking about it. I know I talked with you, Bill, a little bit about if we want to do merit-based, maybe there is a hybrid system where, let's say our biggest concern is certifications and qualifications. What if we kept education, experience, longevity as objective factors, but found something to potentially substitute either part or whole of qualification certification that might be merit-based? I think we'd be open to have a discussion on this, but I can't say we'd be prepared to be able to propose anything. The CR rubric was multiple years of evaluation, trying to craft it, get it before the board, talk about impacts. It's only in its first year. I think I started that back honestly in 2021 with something that was in my brain because I had shared with President Vickers, but for everybody, we had a situation where they did an analysis of market study of positions. Our engineering techs were recognized as their mid-range was off. They were actually being paid less than what the market was. When we adjusted that to what the market was, there was a computation to show where people were, how far away they were from their mid-range. They would get diminishing returns on increases to bring them close to mid-range, meaning if you were here, pretty close to it, you might get a 2% increase. If you're farther away, you might get a 5% increase. That caused 2 of our engineering techs to be making less than the minimum of their entire salary range based on the computation. And the challenge with that is we were going to hire a 3rd engineering tech, 4th technically, who was now going to make more than the 2 who had been here 2 to 6 years, let's say. When recognizing that we didn't have a good system for that, that was the inception of trying to find something that replaced it. On the initial one, it had merit-based as part of it. It wasn't until later that, as I understood, as people were challenged by merit-based, they were having risks, they were having challenges with it being incorporated. It took a lot more time, it took a lot more diligence. It was taken away from people actually doing their jobs. If you're trying to think of it as you're doing a full write-up that's going to stand and withstand the test of a consistent practice across an entire district, most agencies had either steered away from it. I think the one that our HR department said had done it had regretted going to that system. So this was 2021. Things may have changed, but that's when I took that out of it and developed a compa ratio rubric outside of any merit-based. But it's not to say we can't evaluate it going to that or finding some form of hybrid.
So we have about 45 minutes left of this discussion. So Chris, do you have anything that you want to
Yeah.
mention?
Some of it was answered. I think the hybrid model is something that should definitely be considered for that rubric deep dive and evaluation. I think there could be checks and balances to say, okay, you know, this to sort of keep the CR and the merit-based in check.
Yeah.
So that was going to be one of my suggestions, was a hybrid model.
To that point, sorry, Chris, so to that point, could you include employee evaluation results into the rubric?
Yeah, so
It seems like it would be fairly simple to do.
the old system, the first one I came up with essentially was a portion of that. I can't remember if it was half or a quarter of it. An alternative, even potentially more simple, is, and this is, again, needs analysis and evaluation for it, but if we reduced a part of the rubric, let's say the qualifications, reduced that portion of it, and instead made it an area where people could receive bonuses for their works for that year. I don't know, and I do want to talk and make sure the idea of bonuses probably has its own connotations towards it. But if there was a performance-based bonus towards the end of the year based on evaluated performance, it was something that was essentially capping, bringing the max range down, but those who were performing above and beyond might be able to be recognized for it as another.
I don't think we're looking for bonus structure. I think we're looking for utilization of employee evaluation and
So
basically merit.
yes, merit would be what the bonus would equate to,
Yeah.
the evaluation for it.
Couldn't you include that into the adjusted pay rate for that person
Here's
as
fair
a scoring
point.
on the rubric?
My concern with merit-based, if you put it into the rubric, is that you have it consistent going forward, which means if that person's performance suffers, you then have to reevaluate and you have to adjust that portion of the rubric, which is probably what would invite more challenge to it.
But you could create a formula where it doesn't reduce the salary, but if performance goes down based on the evaluation scoring, it can be notated on the rubric in the note section, and can be referred to further HR follow-up to improve, or maybe it spawns an improvement plan for that person.
So I'll give you an example. If we measure everybody's performance, or I measure Chris's performance 1 out of 5, this year he does a 5 out of 5. Great job, Chris. And he does amazing. That in a computation, if we're just looking at it in a rubric, he would score something there and it translates to his salary going forward. And then the follow-on year, if he does a 4, the question will bear, does he lose his 5 mark, and does he lose money going down to a 4? Or if he goes to your point, if he goes to like a 1 or 2, yeah, you're probably evaluating his performance, saying something has happened, you're gonna probably chapter him or talk about separation, if not disciplinary action up to leading to termination. But the concern, and Bill and I talked a little bit about this, the concern I would have is that he gets that mark as a 5, and it maintains his salary going forward until somebody reevaluates him and either takes his pay or recognizes there's enough to terminate him. If I was concerned about that being carried year to year, then in my head, the bonus of, hey, this year you did well, that 5 translates to the pay for that year, and I don't have to worry about it the next year. That's
Yeah, and that's why merit-based is such a
pain.
touchy issue. Sorry, Chris, I
Yeah, you're good.
just wanted to try to get.
Yeah. How long is the CR is something new, right? When was this implemented?
This was the first year implemented. So we proposed it March of, I think, 2024. The impact, particularly when it came to the fire department, which is the largest portion of the general and the district in pay aspects, was so great that we knew we couldn't launch it mid-year.
Let me ask you this, when would the employees feel the impact of the CR rubric?
They felt it, I think it was technically March 1st when we did the final analysis and implemented. So January 1st is technically when it went into effect of this year. We did do finalization of ensuring the certifications that came through were vetted, that they were consistent, that if there were any issues, we backdated it. So this year is when that impact happened. And that's why I didn't mention it today, but in the previous one, when I said our compa ratio average went from 0.89 to 0.96, that's that impact.
And that's reflected in the estimated actuals
Yes,
as of March.
yes.
The reason I ask that is, what I'm getting at is at some point it might be worthwhile to have a survey of the employees,
Yeah,
to see,
how they feel or what they thought.
yeah,
Yeah, I appreciate that because I was going to suggest, I talked to Bill about this a bit. You have people in different camps. Some people like the objective-based, some people like the merit-based. Folks who see the objective-based at least recognize, hey, I'm not worried about inconsistency because if a certification is approved for this firefighter, it's going to be approved for me, and there's value to that. But then you have folks who are, hey, I perform very high. I want to be able to be recognized for it. Right now, the only recognition for that might be employee quarters, Soaring Eagle, things that are involved with that do have some benefit towards it, but obviously not a salary benefit. I would love to be able to see something that my hard work is reflected in a higher pay. So you probably see both camps. So a survey to get their feedback, I think, would be, if the board is open to that, I would appreciate it.
yeah, I think it would be really valuable, but the timing on it would be important. You wouldn't want to do it, I guess, too early. You'd want to have enough.
For them to have experienced it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think early next year.
Because right now, if everybody's getting bumps, it's going to be like, this is the greatest thing ever.
That's also fair. And that's a good point because in the presentation I shared, we looked at the net difference. Is this going to be more cost to the district? Is there going to be some savings? We evaluated it. And the evaluation we showed is that if you just count, like, obviously the next year and you think about the turnover in comparison of what we've been losing and how that might have a positive benefit to not lose people, it was about $100,000 more expense for the district in total per year. That is balancing a $500, I think, $30,000 or $60,000 increase for across the board with the loss of productivity. These are soft costs essentially to evaluate in comparison. But one of the things it also would have done had it been implemented before is prevent those situations that I'm sharing concern about. The subjectivity overrode what people actually probably should have been paid. We have situations in the district where people are making above their 1.00 without the qualifications or certifications for it, or they're making even above one. There's one individual making above 1.20, their max range, because of a lateral transfer that happened a few years ago. Those situations, had this rubric been in place, would have prevented those things from happening. There would have been a consistent practice, and it actually would have been a net benefit to the district and cost.
Yeah,
So-
I remember that, and I think maybe this
Yeah.
slideshow.
Does Rodney have any questions?
That's,
Hang on, let me
Yeah.
wrap up here. Analysis. On this, I'm confused on can you explain on the CR slides that you sent a week or so ago?
Mhm.
It says analysis, cost savings of implementation, direct cost estimates, and then direct savings estimates.
Yeah, give me a second to pull it back up. But I think that's what it's just,
Yeah, I thought I heard some numbers in there.
so. Presentation. Sorry, I don't think I clarified, I am also presenting for our folks online, so I'm trying to make sure I can get both. There we go.
We appreciate it, Kristen. Thank you.
Of course.
The slides aren't numbered, so that's,
Karen, while we're waiting,
it's two below that one.
do you happen to know how many employees moved up in salary based on the .96 goal this year in March?
One
No.
more. Or go ahead wherever you
I
want.
could get that number for you.
Trying to think if I
That'd be
can off
nice.
the top of my head. So, right now, like as of yesterday, we're at 0.96.
Mhm. Everybody?
That's the average. So if you look at fire, for instance, they're closer to 1. Admin's 0.89, I believe, as far as their average comp ratio. But our average across the entire district, water, wastewater, fire sales tax, general fund is 0.96.
Yeah, can you explain this?
Yeah, so go one up, might be 2. Okay, so this is the direct cost. This is in March of 2024 where we evaluated if we implemented today, these were the exact costs we expected based on each person. We took each person, there's a whole 140 person list where we took their qualifications, their certification, education experience, and assessed where they would be. If you see that big red pie, that's fire. That's where the impact was. Thanks, Chief. That's the direct cost. Go down one slide. This was our analysis of cost savings of implementation. These were the soft costs I referred to. This was SHRM, which I believe is thank you.
You're okay.
The Senior Human Resources Management Group, a nationally recognized site. They provided, here's how you analyze what your loss of productivity, your loss of cost when it comes to turnover. And those factors equated to that 543,000 based on our to-date averages, employees, and time. Go down one more. This was a comparison. And the only thing added, longevity, we calculated when we took our old practice of longevity, that $500, that $1,000 per year based on 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, all the way to 30. When we took that out and replaced it with the actual longevity evaluated, these were the two. And that cost, I was incorrect, was about 30,000 more per year. One more step was the ask if we had implemented it. So one more slide. The net savings. This was, had we implemented it from the beginning, because we had a policy and a practice of not ever, when we make a big change, if you're being paid $80,000 a year and we do a change and we evaluate you and you should only be paid $76,000 a year, we don't typically reduce you. We typically keep you where you were at and create it in this system a way for it to catch up. For instance, in the rubric, what would happen is, yeah, you might get another certification, but you're capped, which means that certification doesn't count for pay. You have to catch back up before you can progress. Had we instituted it based on the analysis at the time, we'd actually be saving money by having it in place.
And then in that, I think it was the incorporation study or somewhere, at some point I read, it was Pueblo West was 18% below
Yes,
basically everybody around us.
yes.
So what is that, what is the effect of this on that stat?
I think it bridged the final part of the gap. I appreciate bringing that up. So historically, that was, I think, 2018, 2019, 18% from the financial sustainability study based on market analysis for local areas or like-sized organizations, whether they're special districts, some are cities. It is very hard to find a metropolitan district that looks and acts like us. There are very few that are separated from a city. There's no overlay, and many of them, they're either more affluent or they're much more specialized, like Canyon City's Parks District.
But if an employee's gonna move, they're likely to move to
Exactly.
Canyon or the
So-
city or Fountain or
Exactly.
something like that, so
The-
it's,
the
that's the
two-
competition.
Exactly. So the two ways to look at it, and we've gotten feedback on both, is if your person lives around here, what is their competition based on who you're trying to select for a C&D operator? And the only caveat to that is fire, because they have a situation where they oftentimes live there for 2 days. Their sphere is much larger than the rest of the district. We have people from Castle Rock who have been in firefighters for the district, for instance. Would not want to drive that every day. So that study showed 18%. When we do COLA increases, in theory, that is all of the economy is moving in this region. So a 2% COLA increase means that most things are moving together, both the cost of living and ideally the pay it takes to be able to match that cost of living. If you take out things that were just based on COLA in the years from 2018 to probably 2024, 2023, the quick analysis I'd done previously is we probably made up about 10 to 12% of that from that 18%, which means we're somewhere in the 5-6% still range of not being quite there. The compensation ratio rubric bridged the last part of that gap because we didn't have to move it wasn't so much of where our midpoints were, it was what people were being paid within our system. That allowed us to actually get a point that folks are now not leaving because of pay. Oftentimes we're losing people in the past couple of years because the turnover is happening either from, hey, they're moving, they're finding a new place that they would like to be at, it's not a pay issue, or they're being separated involuntarily. This one in this year, we'll double check and provide information, but I don't think we've had anybody lose. We haven't lost anybody to pay, and I've only had to deal with one pay-related issue, and it had to do with the trainee positions because of how they're evaluated. They don't benefit from the CR rubric. So that trainee had the potential to go to another place and be able to get paid more because of the evaluation.
Do you
If
guys
our-
have
yeah.
statistics on why people leave?
Yes, it's as honest as they are during their exit interviews typically, but we do have that data.
Are you able to share that?
I think so. I apologize, don't know off the top of my head, but we can find
Yeah.
that.
So, in regards to that training position, the person was in it for what, 2 months?
I don't know the history for the specifics for him. It was less than a year, I believe.
But he was let go, right?
No.
No?
We ended up working around, finding a way to be able to ensure that he was essentially close to being able to take a certification. I don't want to dive too much into his personal details, but he was close to being able to get value and move into an actual operator position.
Okay, so he's still an employee of the district?
To my knowledge? Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, I didn't know that, thank you.
So we got about 30 minutes left. Chris, do you have anything else? Good questions.
No, the only other thing I wanted to say was just a general, more of a comment, but on that budget committee, next time I'm gonna be more involved than I was. And so I'm gonna look at, I have 2 things. I think that those should be uncapped on time, or at least doubled the time, because I think that I'd like to go more in depth on stuff. And then also I think it might be worthwhile to, we can designate the 2 people or whatever, the treasurer and the president, but I think an invitation to the other board members to those would be important so that we avoid something like this. Because I didn't, at the time, sitting through there, I didn't notice the salaries for whatever reason. That they're the extreme jump that jumped
Yeah.
out at me at the other meeting.
I can speak a little bit to that.
Before you comment, I think that's partially my fault too, and maybe we should have a structure to where the person who was on the previous year stays on.
Yeah, that was my
As
fault.
kind
for
of
not
a,
calling
almost
you
of a
and
mentor
asking about it.
or
Yeah.
to help guide the process or whatever the case might be. I think that would be best practice moving forward.
Yeah. Happy to evaluate for the budget committee. It's gone through a process of previous to me, I think it was just the finance director and district manager.
Yeah.
And then it got to a point that the proposal would happen. We then evolved it into the senior leadership, 2 designated board members, and that's the first one I think that you were on.
Yeah.
And then the third iteration, the one that's currently in place, we've added 1 to 2 public members to be able to attend. The challenge we ran into this year with timing and budget scheduling was actually the public member to make sure it worked with their schedule, and balancing between board members and our schedule is probably why we ran into the biggest challenge, so we can always evaluate that. To be fair, when it comes to salaries, this huge jump wasn't caused by something that was necessarily individual were doing these things. For instance, during the budget committee, we set the COLA, we set the new positions. Those are the major factors when we're talking about the personnel, now that the comp ratio is in place. The challenge came with us in our budgeting projection of thinking 1.05 was that aspect of it, not so much the budget committee producing an aspect of it that you would have been able to evaluate. Just a reference, but to your point, yeah, diving in and to the mentorship program, so that way that has helped.
So I want to give Rodney a chance to voice his opinion or ask any questions.
I got a couple things real quick. I think Chris asked one of them, mind you, how many of our employees are leaving because of pay and going elsewhere, or being let go because of lack of merit, performance issues, or disciplinary issues? That's one of the questions I have. So if there's a discrepancy with that, where they're not leaving because of pay, but because they had performance issues, even though they had the certifications for the position, that's a question I'd like to know. Checks and balances, if an employee has a problem, I think they should be able to be comfortable enough to express a concern that they have and take it up the ladder should there be a concern or issue that they have with their constituents, or the pay increase model, hybrid model. I think one of the things I can say about hybrid model, the company I work for, I think it has a very good hybrid model where they do certifications and work performance. Each of the supervisors have a thing that they want us to complete throughout the year, and then they go over those performance issues, and they go over those things, and they get call us in and ask us about and talk to us about our performance during the year. And they are directly related to if they believe that the employee at the time is capable of performing the issues and taking care of the things that they have. So I think there's a hybrid model out there that can be used. We could look at that deeper. And what do our department leads think of the style of work etiquette that we're discussing right now? I don't know if I've ever heard anybody from one of our department leads talk about it. If they have issues with it or concerns, or if they're all good for it. So I'd like to hear what they have to say, if they have anything to say about it as well. And then I also agree with Chris about the budget committee being applicable to all the board members, where we all should be a part of that, and just take a work session or something like that when it's time to start going over budget. Start it sooner, a little earlier, and so that way we're all kind of understanding what's going on, and we're all part of that dynamic, because that's technically the budget is our biggest bread and butter within the districts. So managing that properly and appropriately, I think we all need to be a part of that effort.
Thank you, Rodney. So we have about, let's say about 20 minutes left. So I know you guys are looking for how to move forward, correct? To finalize the budget for final approval in December. So before we get to that, I think it would be prudent to create some examples of what the comp ratio would look like for a new employee, an employee with 10-year experience, employee with 20-year experience, with a couple different variables on qualifications and or certifications, and send that out to everybody so they can kind of see and dive into the data. I think we're all visual learners, and I think to have something in front of us might help understand that process.
Frank, can I?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
I think we also should look at not just the value of the pay increase. I mean, how this all works to give employees more pay, but also the impact it has towards the district as far as improved services. Is it doing anything better for the taxpayer, or are we simply becoming an entity that keep up with, that are around it. And I get it, we only compare ourselves to cities, but you also have to remember that city, Fountain, Canyon City, they all, departments, they all are also funded by taxes. They get all of their property taxes. They have bigger resources than we do. I think at some point we have to realize that we're a metropolitan district that has limited resources. And yeah, I think people should be paid, but for us to try to keep ahead of competition or stay up with what we consider competition, it's not really competition. It's all coming from taxes.
Yeah, and I think to Bill's point, let me elaborate on that, Bill, a little bit, if you don't mind. So I think to Bill's point, we have 5 board members that don't like to just see the cost of government increasing, right? We want to see what are our taxpayers getting out of it, because they're ultimately the ones footing the bill. So
Yeah, it's a good point, Bill.
I think, and then the other one was just, the other issue we're facing with is the sticker price from the 1.05 that was originally budgeted in the book. You've since offered to go down to 1.0, which is good. I've done a little bit of math and looking at the data for the actuals with the information you sent us this morning, the actuals for 2004, the estimated for 2005, and the 1%, I'm sorry, the 1.0 comp ratio or mid-range for all the employees. If we were, now obviously through that data, when you look at it, we are constantly under budget on salaries. So we budget this amount and we're, $1+ million short of that every single year in fulfilling the budget amount, which is not a bad thing. And I understand, we're a large district, we have a lot of employees, we're always going to have open positions, we're always going to have that fluctuation. You have people that retire that are at this base or this salary, that you bring someone in newer that's going to start at a lower salary. There's all of those things always going on. So I did the math to see what it would look like if we took our 2025 budget amount, since we're not expending that amount this year, and adding the COLA ratio and the new positions of $273,000 and some change, and what that total amount would look like, came out to about $11.2 million. The revised budget amount, salary amount that you guys put together for the 1.0 comp ratio instead of 1.05 comes out to about $11.65 million. So about a savings of $400,000 if we were to maintain the 2025 budget plus those additions that were already approved. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that first, I guess?
You reminded me of another question I had, which was
Do you mind? I'm sorry, I have a backlog of 3 questions from Rodney to him.
Oh, sure.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
But real quick to Rodney, I think we can provide the data as far as the where we have lost people and for what reasons we have lost them. As far as it is not based on pay anymore, and it is likely based on performance-based. They're violating something as far as what they're expected to do, or there's something that has come up that has caused them to transcend to, let's say, a termination. We can provide that data for that. It's a fair question. I don't know if I missed any others that you had, Rodney, but Brian, what you were saying there, and I think Karen might back me up on here, budget of protection. It's just what we think is going to be likely. So to do that isn't necessarily incorrect or there's any issue with doing something like that. What this is doing now and why, in theory, you won't see any more big swings going forward is that the budget is every position at mid-range regardless of what they're being paid or if they're vacant currently. Our past practice was if we had Chris in a position, he was making 0.90 of his we budget for his plus his COLA, that was it. And then if Greg would come on later and he was in a vacant position, we budgeted his at mid-range. Now we're just doing it a blanket mid-range for everybody because the theory is that we're authorizing all of these positions to be filled. Ideally, they're filled the entire year, and ideally, they're filled by competent people on average, that midpoint. So that's why it looks as it is, not to say can't consider otherwise, but just to share why that number is there now. and how in the future, we shouldn't see that big swing anymore.
Yeah, I understand.
As he's mentioned.
I understand the budget's there to to show that this is what it would cost to fulfill every position
Yeah.
at a specific salary range for the entire year. I get
Yeah.
that. And actuals are going to fluctuate based on what actually happens throughout the year. In my mind, even if you were to say we would keep the 2025 budget plus the COLA plus the new positions, the actual savings is only $400,000. Does it make sense to just approve the 1.0 compa ratio, or do we want to continue on with this battle? It has to be approved. We have to give them direction today.
Yeah. And
So,
just to-
I thought we didn't have an action item today.
So all I would look for today
It's
is
direction.
guidance, direction,
Okay,
because
all right,
we're
okay.
coming
So-
back December 8th with
Yeah.
the budget ideally to be approved.
I have a couple questions and comments in regards to that. So, Bill brought up the taxpayers. So I'll just give you an example. These are current. Your administrative personnel behind prison walls at the Florence complex for the Bureau of Prisons is only getting a 1% pay increase. Correctional officers, who typically put their lives on line, unarmed, behind prison walls with the world's worst criminals, are only getting a 3%. I don't know what AWs or wardens are getting. Okay, that'd be a GS 12 to GS 14 position. I can get it. But we gotta remember our constituents are not getting the same pay increases. Okay? So in regards to we're talking a 1% increase across the board, what you just proposed, right?
2.2 COLA.
Yeah, there's,
That's
there's,
the-
Well, I wanted
the only
to
across
talk
the
about the
board,
COLA separate.
to be abundantly clear, the only across the board is the COLA 2.2. There is no other blanket one.
So,
And that we already approved.
explain the 1.0.
That's the
CR.
the mid-range, yeah, that's for the compa ratio mid-range.
And that's just,
That's
budget.
what's-
That's not actual.
That's, okay. I just want to clarify that. So, in a sense, our firefighters should get an increase in their salaries.
What he's saying is they can get an increase,
Yeah.
not that they will get an increase.
No, they should.
Well, they have to go through the compa ratio.
I understand that, okay? But at the same time, I think it would be fair to either match or go to 3% on the cost of living allowance, based upon what we've experienced over the last 4 years and 9 months. Okay, we're starting to see an improvement at the gas pump. We're not seeing huge improvements at the grocery stores. Okay?
I think you just said two different things. You're saying that the public isn't making that much of a raise, and now you're saying we need to give them more of a raise.
No, correctional officers are getting a 3% over the administrative staff. Okay? Does this
They're not public.
rubric, if we're talking about a pay increase, we're just gonna give it to the same one to the firefighters?
Again, they have to go through the,
Versus, we got
The rubric
people
there.
who are dealing with life safety and putting their lives on the line every day, and we got administrative. There's two different levels of expertise here. So that's my question.
But they already have different pays.
That's my
pay
question.
scales, yeah.
Okay, so theirs would increase at the same level with the rubric?
I don't,
I think you need to provide the examples.
I can provide examples, but I don't know if that answers
Not today, but
the
yeah.
question for it. COLA is cost of living for everybody, whatever their pay is.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, 75,000,
Got it for over
90,000,
34
whatever it
years
is,
with the federal
goes
government.
up. Nobody else is getting blanket, everything has the rubric for their individual position. So if firefighter A goes out and gets a higher level of education, firefighter B does nothing, firefighter A is getting a pay increase once that is in effect. And there's no difference between administrative or operational staff. Everybody has their own rubric specific to their positions and their ranges based on the market.
Okay, that clarifies.
Okay.
That's what I needed to know. I I thought this was a blanket Rubik's thing.
Nope, so.
I got it.
Yeah.
So-
We're good.
So Bill, what's your thought between,
I have one more thing
okay, sorry.
in regards to.
I would like the COLA piece with the implementation of a hybrid model for this rubric. I'm still uncomfortable with the way,
But you understand that that can't happen before December 8th. So we need,
what's that?
that can't happen
Well-
before December 8th,
Okay, well then just the COLA.
plus the new positions that we approved.
Refresh my mind on, my memory on the, real quick, what are you hiring?
There are 4 changes in positions, effectively net 3. There's a plant operator. The net 0 one is we're taking the deputy chief in the fire department and instead having an EMS manager, emergency management services manager. So that's actually a reduction in cost. There is a project manager that was previously proposed as a stormwater either coordinator or administrator. And the justification discussed at the last one was that changing that will allow us to have 4 project managers as opposed to just the 3 that can spread the stormwater duties out. Seeing how many projects we have had across the entire district and continuing to see they're rolling over and trying to make sure that we're accomplishing them within the time frame.
Yeah.
And then the senior accountant to be able to, so for instance, when we talked about the budget committee, the reason we have it established typically towards July is because we are finishing the audit, and the overlap of the audit and the budget becomes very complicated we have a pretty minimalist administration and finance team when it comes to those type of things. So Karen essentially puts one hat on for the audit and then immediately takes one off, maybe gets a 24-hour break and puts on her budget hat for it. So that is to
Thank
help and assist with being able to do budget analysis, projections, and be able to mitigate that overlap.
So,
Okay, we're back to the COLA and the approved positions. Is that what
Okay.
you're suggesting, Brian?
yeah, so I would suggest that if we're all in agreement with that, that's what we approve in December, maintaining the 2025 budgeted amount with the addition of the COLA and the new positions, wherever they lie in the department. And then as, I would suggest as the district goes through their COLA analysis in January, February,
CR analysis.
or CR analysis, thank you. Thank you.
I know there's a lot.
Too many C's, that we would convene a meeting or discuss that that would be an exec session or public, I'm not sure what,
Public. Unless
public?
we talk about specific.
unless
people's pay.
specific people, yeah. Then we discuss that in a meeting to see where that analysis may lie and if it requires any additional funds for an amendment. What do you think about that?
So is it, in simple terms, is it being put on hold until we decide what we want to do with it?
I think it gives them the opportunity to still do the analysis. And then we don't inflate the budget more than it may need to be.
Okay, but is it going to stop the
Increases?
until we tweak it or they tweak it or we're happy what the outcome is? Not that it just continues forward with the ability to increase pay and get raises.
Yeah, if they do the analysis, for instance, Bill, if they do the analysis and it becomes more than what is actually budgeted, then they would have to request an amendment to the budget. Is
That
that,
doesn't
I think
change.
what Bill's asking for is to suspend the CR rubric.
Yeah, until we fix it the way we want it or they can agree to it.
I think we can work on it and see if we can include some sort of merit base that you all want for this hybrid form and see what that looks like, but I don't know if we should necessarily suspend it because it's already been approved through the last board a couple of years ago.
Well, the budget hasn't been approved. And that's what we're, I mean,
No,
I think you're giving them everything.
Utilizing
You're
the
giving
CR rubric has been approved.
And that was also approved with the last personnel policy. That's
Yeah,
what
and
it's contained.
yeah, we approved the personnel policy at the last meeting, right?
What are you changing then? You're giving them the COLA and you're also getting
All-
the rubric too.
all-
So there's no change in the,
All Brian, if I understand correctly, is suggesting is instead of doing the 1.00, essentially carry over from the 2025 budget, the COLA 2.2% increase and the new positions authorized and leaving it there without any other modifications to that. And it's about a $400,000 difference from what the 1.00
Correct.
is currently showing, which I think there might be some math or some work towards it. Karen, give me a-
But I think, I think if we, if we did the work to see if we can include some sort of merit base for this hybrid format that you all want, we can do that maybe in January. That could require a special meeting or a work session in order to iron that out. And then if we find that that's the way we need to move forward, then they can do that analysis maybe in February, and we'll take a look at what that ends up being in March and possibly approve it, and then they can move forward with that scenario. Does that make sense? So I think that solves the sticker shock, for lack of a better word, on the salary budgets for 2026. It also gives the Metro District the ability to finesse potentially the CR to include what you all want, and still provide the incentives to the employees down the road. Does that make sense?
What was the 25, did you use all of the 2025 budget for your CR program?
No, we're significantly under. That
Yes.
was one of the first points we had talked about, is that historically budgets are overestimated
Yeah.
because they're worst case scenarios. So
There's $1.4 million difference between what was budgeted for 2025 and what's estimated to be spent for 2025.
and so what Brian is proposing is essentially that
I'm
carrying.
sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
I did that wrong. 2.4 million.
Carrying previous budgets forward with just the COLA and just the new positions, understanding that typically we run under, in theory and probably actuality, we'll probably be within that budget, but the question and concern.
Imagine we would.
Yeah,
That's why I bring it up.
it avoids the
That's-
sticker shock, essentially.
Yeah, and it still gives you the ability to do the analysis and provide those incentives that you're talking about, without freaking us all out with a 30% increase in budgeted labor.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Bill, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I'll go with that as long as we talk about it in January.
Okay. Rodney?
Yeah, I think I'm understanding, previous boards, making a motion or whatever they did before, but I thought that's the purpose of the changeover. Sometimes we have to make changes from what other people have done. But we can move forward, I think, with what we need to move forward with to give them direction. I still think a hybrid model is very reasonable and fashionable. I still would like to know what the department leads think about this. I've not heard one mention from them what their thoughts are about it. I understand they're under Christian, but at the same time, they are department leads. They have an opinion as well. I don't know what those are, and I think we should hear what they have to say as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's great.
I agree with that too.
Can I ask, has anybody asked our department leads or
Any of us?
Yeah.
I don't know.
If they're not ready
No,
to
I
say
was-
such, they can be ready for the next meeting we have about it.
Okay. I mean,
We're almost out of time.
that's fair. I'm never opposed to the idea of getting more input for it, whether by survey
Yeah,
or
the
by
survey thing,
leads.
just have it.
Yeah.
Just be able to have pride feedback.
Because I
Yeah,
want to know what everybody thinks.
yeah,
You know,
And
all down the
my other
line.
thought process is, if we get more employees leaving because of merit-based issues and performances than they are because they got certified, then I mean, that, they're telling me there's something to be said about that as well.
yeah.
So, again, that's just basis, and I know plenty of people who are certified and can't work a hill of beans around anything. You have, I go back to my experience as somebody who goes to the board in the military. You got this guy that can spit out everything that he needs to spit out, but he can't perform work whatsoever.
Yeah, we all know those and have been in that situation. I appreciate it. Greg, anything to add?
I'm okay with the board with what we got right now, giving them some direction. I really think they should look at the hybrid. I think it's possible. So, and it keeps the supervisors and directors in loop, and we can get something developed.
Okay, so I just want to clarify before Brian puts his motion forward. We're looking at.
We're not doing a motion, I don't think, are we?
I just need
No,
to.
I mean direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he can repeat what he said earlier. So it sounds like we're in favor of looking into the hybrid option.
Yep.
Seems to be more fair. And we're talking about doing that in January.
So I'll just clarify.
The reason I'm saying that is because I want to make sure that we're all on the same sheet of
Yeah.
music. We got all 5 here,
I-
and that we're not predicting that we could have that available in January, and then we can't meet that time and date.
I think we'll start conversations early next year about that to be able to understand what that hybrid could look like, proposing different models for it. I think we can get the survey as far as the current system and feedback for that easily during that time. What it will likely turn into is hearing what different potential models are and which ones we want to analyze, and then crafting and developing that across the year for implementation in 2027. I think that's the more realistic look at what we'd be doing.
So realistically, we talking February, March, early in?
Yeah, it
To
sounds
the-
like we're gonna
the
be
new
working
year?
on it in 2026 and implementing in 27.
The compensation ratio was over a year long of actually evaluating what that model could look like, looking at other examples of it, and being able to understand how that impact would then translate.
But we should be able to use the 2025 impact.
We're talking about
And
introducing new elements to the
So-
system, for which I
those
don't,
same elements put into the hybrid system, see what it kicks out.
I don't know.
So I want to be respectful to the other group that's here, and we're almost out of time. So I do think there's still work to be done. If we want to try to get it done faster, I would suggest including the hybrid discussion in our work session for December. And we can spend some time on it then
Sounds
to
good.
figure that out.
Okay.
And then that also gives them ability throughout the rest of December, minus holidays, of course, to kind of feel it out and see what they may be able to present in January as a stab at it, you know? And we can take a look at it. Does that make sense?
Our next work session, we should talk about that as well. I mean, we got one more work session before December 8th, so.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I have next steps, and let's make sure we're all in agreement. Next step, utilize the 2025 budget plus, which would be the COLA and additional positions. Survey the employees to find out what they feel, their feelings on the CR. Is that appropriate? And then, huh?
Department heads?
And department heads?
Yeah, everybody.
Are we gonna do just department heads or all employees?
No, everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody?
Yeah,
Okay, fair
all
enough.
employees, yeah.
And then,
A survey?
yeah,
And we need like 90%
return rate? Yeah, that's a good point.
minimum.
Good point. 10% won't do us any good. And then include employee evaluation, and then include employee evaluation scoring in the CR in our work session discussion or strategic discussion piece on the agenda. Did I capture everything?
Just the HR feedback from,
Make a motion, right? We just say
Exit.
we're all in agreement with this moving forward with the direction that we're giving them.
Right, hold on one sec, Rodney.
just the HR point that Rodney and I brought up about just why people were leaving.
Oh, and,
how much
yeah,
of it is
that,
attributed to,
exit interview
Yeah.
information?
yeah.
Okay, provide exit interview. Oh, and, examples, do you guys want to see examples
Oh, yeah.
of what
Yeah,
that
I think
looks
that's a
like?
real good
Yeah.
idea, yeah.
And I know, I wanted to see the rubrics per employee, see if there's consistencies in the
Give you 10
evaluations or
examples.
inconsistencies.
Does that work?
Examples would be, I don't know if we should dive into employee, that really dives into HR, we're managing the HR department, and I don't want to be the HR manager.
No, it's not the HR department. It's the Rubik software and how information's being inputted in there.
Yeah,
Okay, so there would be consistencies if someone's being favorable, okay? Or they're just giving everybody across the board satisfactory, giving them all 5s or 7s.
Could you do
That would
that?
be based upon each supervisor and
yeah.
each of those departments inputting that information. And it's not
I don't think it works that way. It's not like an evaluation.
No, I understand
So-
that, but you got a scale from 1 to 10, okay?
I think if he
And-
provides the examples, that will help us understand. And then we can go from there.
Actual examples, I mean, if you want to redact them,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
okay?
could he just black
that's
out
fine.
the,
I want
Okay.
actual
he wants to,
examples,
he wants to
not
see actual,
Alright.
what's already been done.
What's already been done.
But black
provide
out all
10
sensitive
redacted
information. I
examples.
don't,
I mean, you
we
want
don't
us
need
to
to see the
understand the rubrics.
supervisor or
Yeah.
the person
Software
or.
system and how it operates, I want to see how our department heads, okay, and supervisors are inputting that
I
information.
think we would just encourage you, if you would like, we can come down and show you as that's being input for an example of those. There are 140 employees when it comes to individual rubrics. I'm not sure if you're asking for specific ones. The 10 we would provide would be real life, real world examples.
Be random, we can roll the dice.
Redacted for who they are, or what they are.
Okay.
And you can see examples of that.
Does everybody agree that we captured everything and are good to move forward in that direction?
I'm good. I'm good with what we're.
Okay.
I
Bill?
agree to move forward.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Can we get, does anybody need a break before we dive into the next section?
I don't.
More coffee? I'll be right back.
Can we get a 3-minute recess before we move into the next comment? Visual design with the Senza architecture.
And I'll probably turn it over to our folks here today, unless there's anything Carol really wanted to say.
I know, I'm good.
That's fair.
Carol's good. Okay, let me know. Does this sound okay?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Oh, thumbs up over here. I'm Krista Plaza with Ascenza Architecture, and I'm the president and architect of Ascenza Architecture. So happy to be here because this project has been going on a long time.
Yes.
And we know you guys really want a pool, and we love working with smaller communities. We're currently working with Yuma and Fort Morgan on their aquatics facilities. One's outdoor, one's indoor. And, we enjoy getting them in budget and making sure our projects are on track with that. And that's a challenge in these days after COVID, but just a little bit about us. And then I'll pass you over to Dane. I don't know if this is close enough to Dane.
Sure.
Introduce himself.
Dane Vero, I'm project manager and senior architect, and I'll be working on this project.
Awesome.
And I'm Carol Cosby, Director of Parks and Rec.
Are you sure?
Yes,
All right.
at this time, yes.
No, that came out wrong, sorry.
Okay.
So we
That
have.
totally came out wrong. Did not mean how that sounded.
Think about that.
We're all
So
tired.
Today, we're going to cover some things. We want to talk a little bit about the geotech that we've been working on, the geotechnical report on the 2 sites. We also want to look at design and construction schedules and what we're seeing in the market today in the world of commercial and pools. And then look at budget tracking, which we do. I actually spent a lot of time in my career moving into tracking budgets because I worked with so many architects before I started our business that didn't track the budgets. And that was really tough because we're trying to get in projects in budget all the time, and we know everyone has tight budgets. So we want to look at those really carefully. So we're going to get into that in a little detail. And then we're going to go into the next steps of design and construction and what that looks like. And then a little concept design overview of a design floor plan, but it's very quickly done, so we'll get into that in a little bit. And I'm first going to hand you over to Dane to talk about the site.
All right, just a quick review of a little bit of the history here. We performed borings on the 2 sites, and then in November, earlier this month, Site 2 was selected. The 2 sites were very similar. Site 1 has bedrock closer to the surface, so Site 2 would require less mitigation of the bedrock, or which potentially could be less cost for excavation and foundations. So I assume you know what a geotechnical report is, but obviously they're important for getting recommendations from the soils engineer for the building foundations and pavement and the pools themselves.
I know it's not working. It was working so well.
There we go.
It was working.
All right. So Site 2 is a large site. The building location that we're looking at is potentially close to us, East Assembly and Aspen Skiway intersection. We need to consider the access to the site, circulation, parking drop-off, and also master planning, not only for future additions to this building, but for whatever other uses might be desired on that large site. Obviously, a big question here is the amount of road improvement work that would be required, and we'd have to talk to the county about that. So regarding the schedule, we're looking at, we've already essentially gone through conceptual design, so we're looking at schematic all the way through permit documents and then through construction. Planning department reviews for Pueblo. Typically, we're seeing, we deal with some jurisdictions that it's more than 6 months. We imagine that Pueblo County is 3 to 4 months or potentially less. One of the biggest issues with our projects these days, especially since COVID, is lead time on items. Metal buildings are often 26 to 30 weeks out, and the pool dehumidification units, which are custom built for each project, also have very long lead times. Some of electrical gear is getting better now, but those need to be incorporated into the schedule. We also have to have reviews by health and building department, and then potentially there's the timeline for road design work and review. We understand there's a desire for local contractor participation in the project, and we could build that into the proposal for the bids, contractor bids. Obviously, for pools, you want a contractor that is experienced in building pools, so we would make sure that wherever they come from, they would be required to, at least a certain percentage of their subcontractors would be local.
So, yeah, I don't know if you just answered my question or not. So would Ascensa be acting as the contractor and you would be hiring or we would be bidding out the subcontractors, or?
We're looking at a design bid build, so we design it, then we put it out to bid for a contractor.
We'll put it out to bid, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we would assist with that
Yeah.
process,
Okay. All
yeah.
right. Thank you.
So a typical timeline for a building of this size, go to the next slide there. These are the time periods for schematic design and design development, and then the planning submittal is concurrent with construction documents, and then going into permitting and construction. The blue items those are processes that we participate in, but they are up to the timelines of the entities, whether it's Pueblo County or the contractor. Obviously, we aren't going to set the construction schedule. That'd be the contractor. So we're just estimating 12 months on that.
So if you could explain your acronyms here, but in parentheses, under planning submittal,
Mm-hmm.
you
So
have a
submit a
25% seating.
construction documents.
Okay.
So, yeah, the next item below that is construction documents. So at 25% of the way through that construction document phase, that's usually when we're doing our planning submittal. Because we take the design development documents and then we kind of package them for the submittal to the county.
And then based on what they say, you finalize, yeah.
Yeah,
That makes
then
sense. That
then
makes
it's the
sense.
process of them reviewing, commenting back to us, then we respond, they review again, and usually that's, at least 2 or 3 cycles to get it
So if you could do
completed.
me a favor, for the public who's viewing, if you come across acronyms and stuff during your
Definitely.
presentation, please give a layman's term explanation of what that is. I don't want it going over their head. This is your level of expertise.
All right,
I want
yeah.
them to understand it.
Appreciate that reminder.
Thank you.
So in the bottom section there, the permitting BN contracts, that's bidding, negotiation, and contracts. So that's the process of getting the general contractor on board. And then construction administration is the construction process of the contractor, and we participate in what we call it construction administration, which is answering questions, reviewing submittals, and going out to the job site and observing the job site and going to meetings. And that total timeline, if you do the math, is 18 to 20 months.
I'm curious,
Wow.
this chart under budget tracking, is this just an example?
Yes, that's an example.
Yeah, when we,
Okay.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute for
Okay.
you. That's great. Good questions. And actually, yeah, anytime you guys have questions, feel free. It'd be nice if we just talk back and forth. It's all right. So we appreciate that.
yeah.
Any other questions about the schedule?
That's a long time.
It's about commercial construction, just with the
Yeah.
lead times. That's what we're typically seeing. Oh, go ahead.
Bill?
Yeah, one
Someone's online.
Plan for the west, I don't mean the worst, but pray for the best.
Bill, you had something?
Well, yeah, I thought that this meeting was, and forgive me if I'm blunt, but I thought this meeting was about us meeting with the Ascensa to determine whether or not we were gonna continue with them as design and talk to them about what we wanted in this particular building and see what they were going to offer with that. This looks like it's like a done deal, and we're just moving, full steam ahead with.
I thought we did approve using them for the design in our last meeting.
We did.
So, real quick, I believe, and I don't want to steal any thunder, there is a whole presentation here. They're going to go into, I think, concepts and discuss those. There were requests for timelines associated with what this project could look like, so they are, I think, doing a comprehensive response essentially to all the questions. But there is that concept in there for the board to be able to review, discuss with Essenza to ensure it meets what their expectations are.
Yep.
And I don't think he has this either.
I sent it to him. It's
Oh, it's on there?
yeah, he may not be able to pull up the whole thing though.
The only thing he doesn't have is the last page.
The building placement, is that where it's gonna be?
That's no, not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
I
Gotcha.
believe I was asked to put
You were.
a square on
Oh,
the
okay,
map.
that's that thing, okay,
That's
yeah.
the
But I didn't put it on there,
Alright.
they did, just,
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So that's the
it
one to scale, right?
it shows the,
Correct,
Okay.
to scale is what I
I
requested.
didn't, I
Just
just
give us an
told
idea how large of an area we're working.
maybe there, that's what I was asked last time, and I asked them to do that in a slide.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Okay,
But
perfect.
this last page is the one we're talking about, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so I don't think Bill has it.
When we get to it, I'll post it up.
Can Bill, can you bring it up on the screen also?
I'll
Or,
have
you-
to-
oh, you can bring it up, okay,
Did you
perfect.
send it to you? Is that pre-downloaded?
Okay.
She has it, and it's on the slideshow, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think when we look at the timeline of construction, it always hits us hard.
What was the total timeline? Sorry,
We
I
have
think I missed that.
18 to 20 months, yeah.
I think I got it.
All right, so budget tracking.
So hopefully I just went back to the slide, just so you could see the blue dot, that's a 12,000 square foot box. And the question is like, does that cost more to put it right there? Does it cost, where's the cost savings? Like, is it more cost effective to put it right on McAuliffe and Assembly, or is it more cost effective to put it by Aspen Ski Way? So,
Yeah.
it's, a lot's gonna have to do with those road improvements, and it'd be good to talk through to planning with that. Like, we could do an early sketch review with them, which they've already said they would be happy to do with us. And then we can meet with them and say, okay, which roads will you make us improve more?
Yeah.
Because road work is expensive, right? Like everything in construction, so it's good to look at that early
And obviously,
on.
the location of this needs to take into consideration what potential future plans we might have
Correct.
in
That
that
too.
plot. So it'd be good to have some
Yeah.
sort of generalized layout of what you would like to put where,
Yeah,
your wish list, so to
Yeah.
speak.
and we can do some concept sketch diagrams and bubbles to show, we like to make sure we future-proof sites and locate things so that you do have room to grow parking a little bit. You have room to grow the building, maybe you have parks. It sounds like you wanted some park amenities and other really nice amenities.
Yeah.
So over in that area, so there's all sorts of opportunities. So,
Okay.
all right, we'll come back to this, okay.
Can you guys send us the recording after you do the sketch plan review with the county?
Oh, we can, certainly. Yeah, that's a great idea.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
You're
So there-
welcome to join
You
us.
guys are aware that we have a new
We
building
are-
department
Yes.
that we'll be working off of with
Yeah, from what I've
early
heard.
January.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, all right.
That's great.
Hopefully that'll help the timeline.
So this chart's a little bit small, so I don't expect you to read all these numbers, but the key is that we do budget tracking very carefully, and we're here to be stewards of your budget. We reached out, said, okay, what's your budget? And everyone's like, we don't want to tell you your budget, and we understand that, and that's okay. A lot of municipalities don't want to tell us their budget, or they don't want it to become public because they don't want contractors to know what it is for the bidding time. So, however, we really appreciate at least having a guideline for where you're at with your budget so that we understand, and we're going to set baselines and say, is this okay with you? We can keep it very confidential from any contractors before bidding, because I know that's critical to you guys.
I'm already looking at it.
I think
So-
that just negated everything that we've been trying to do.
That's
This
okay,
slide.
right.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure
Oh, no.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, so unfortunately, that's,
well, this is a sample.
This is a
This
sample.
isn't
okay.
No,
This isn't our project. Yeah, let's just
no,
make that
this is
clear.
not.
That's
All right,
And
This
what-
is, we'll go.
okay, all right.
Two
So this-
pages down, there's,
And legitimately, I think it's that other thing that they were going through.
So, and
The next
and what we
slide.
want to, yeah, sorry. And what we want to do is, this, you can see it has like permit costs, water tap fees, FF&E. There's all sorts of things it takes to do your building. It takes, architects and engineers and permit fees. So you need to include all those costs and make sure we understand the overall budget versus the construction budget, so we can really get you to where it needs to be. We're not saying what that number is today. I don't know what that number is yet, so we want to make sure we track it though for you. We want to be stewards of your budget, and to do that, we need to understand it,
Skip page 11.
but yes.
This is just an example of
It's
one.
an example. So yes, so, okay. And then,
Is that from me? Are we skipping that slide?
this is from Mead, and then,
Pause.
Hold on 1 sec, sorry. Are we skipping this?
Is
I
that
want
the
to skip
actual?
that. Page 11.
That's, so what I believe they're going over is the
Right.
community center,
this is an example
an example
project.
separate from any of our project. If we don't want to see that as example presented, we don't have to, but it's not related to our project.
Okay, not related to our project.
No, not at
That's
all.
super clear.
This is a project that was just completed in September. They just had the ribbon cutting, and it was a 12,000 square foot building and a pre-engineered building. So, I'm switching my slides and not that one. There you go. So, and what we want to show here is how we track budgets. And so what we do is we do a construction budget goal with the owners in the beginning. It might be 6 million, it might be 20 million, it might be 2 million. So we want to look at those budget goals in the beginning and understand what are we targeting as a design team, because if we don't know what that is, we might specify all these things that are way too expensive. And we don't want to get to the end of documentation and not be able to afford the building, and then you can't build it. So that's really important to our team, to your team, to everybody in the community, the taxpayers, everybody. So this project example happened to be $6 million. It was a very special building, I'll say, so that's why it's 6. And they wanted this special tower because it represented the old bean plant that they tore down. And so that's why, some of this is a very customized pre-engineered metal building, so it's more expensive than it needed to be. But they wanted this, so that was their request to us as a design team.
So I just
But-
wanted to clarify, sorry for jumping in, just want to clarify
Certainly.
real quick. We understand that having a scope of what the total budget might be for a project is helpful. We're trying to get away from that determining what our actual costs are going to be. So we spent a lot of time discussing being more in-depth and accurate with the scope of work for the design bid. So that design company will know exactly what we're looking for. And then within those meetings, once someone is selected, in which case you have been selected, then you would have those conversations about, in more depth detail, this is what we want, this is what we realize we can't afford this, or this and that and the other. Does that make sense?
That makes,
Okay.
that's great.
So I'm going to go more local. Canyon City. Their
Yes,
city council's been dealing with a huge pool thing.
we know. We know all about it.
$4,000 plus pool project, and nobody wants it.
Yeah,
They want it modest, less expensive,
yeah.
but they want a pool. And that's what we need. We want to keep it modest, less expensive, cost saving to the taxpayers, leave the community a legacy that we used to have with an outdoor pool, but something that's accessible 7 days a week. So that's our goal.
That's great.
Without disclosing budgets.
Yeah, Bill?
Maybe I could help clarify. What we had talked about was the design, getting a design based on what the board and committee, Carol, we can give you our idea. And I kind of thought that we were going to get to it at some point, but we would give you our idea of what the building, what we want it to look like. But we would leave it to you to design what, the air conditioning system should be, the dehumidifier should be, electrical. You would have all of that designed for us, then we would put it out to bid and let the contractor determine the price for us.
Yeah, I think that's still the plan, Bill.
Yeah,
I don't think they're presenting anything different or
Yeah.
challenging. And maybe we do jump to the concepts if we're getting challenged on
okay.
what they're going for the budget cases recommendation.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify before we
Yeah.
move forward in the presentation.
I think that's great. And we want to make sure we preface this with just, we want to be stewards of your budget. We don't want to design something and get to bid time and have it be $2 million over. Even if the scope of work is exactly the same, if there are different things and different, windows or pieces on the building, they cost more money. So we want to make sure we know how to get to whatever it is you're trying to achieve. And to make sure, you can build the project. That's really important. And we just, on the last 9 of our 9 projects probably now, we have come in on or under budget. And that is extremely important to us. So just so you understand that's why we're talking about the budget. I know you guys don't want to talk about it, but budget's so important because you can't build it if it doesn't meet the budget, right?
If I may weigh in, I think as we've discussed with our board, our understanding is with our hope to be able to do as much of the non-budgetary work as possible. I think we've accepted that there is going to be the risk of whatever is designed and eventually going to the invitation for bid might come back as higher than what those expected prices could be.
Okay.
But we also won't know that until the invitation for bids come forward. I think that's a risk we've accepted.
Yeah,
That's
and
fair to say.
we want to be able to discuss, okay, well, 12 lanes, we'll reduce it to 10, reduce the cost. Or 2 urinals and 2 full toilets
Mhm.
with two vanities.
Which,
Or what, however, so we got the decision-making process of scaling back where we need to. Okay, we don't want to design to the highest cost possible.
right,
Yeah, definitely
Okay.
not, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think you're describing the process that we're talking about.
Okay,
That-
good deal.
Yeah, we want to we want to get cost estimates during design so that we know what the cost is of what we're designing.
Gotcha.
We don't want to get to the end and then have to redesign it because you can't fund it.
so,
Right.
talking through that realistic application, if we don't have cost estimates at all during this process, but we do recognize we want to make it the most cost effective as possible, whether no budget is thrown out, just say, hey, we want to make it
Yeah.
meet this expectation for the lowest cost possible.
Yeah.
Not knowing that until we go to the invitation for bid, the risk that.
And that's already public. I mean, we voted on that in a public
true.
meeting, so.
The invitation for bid, to your point about
Correct.
like, if we get to hey, we can reduce things, the architectural design will be complete. It will go out for invitation for bid. Then we might find that it costs more than we expected. Any changes would have to go back through a review of the architectural design and changes in cost with it, just for awareness.
Should we let them go through
Yeah,
everything?
Thank you.
and then-
Okay.
thank you. Sorry for all the
Thanks,
interruptions.
good questions, though. No, these are good questions, and it's good to understand where you guys are coming from. Great, okay, so I skipped over the bid tab.
Thank you.
So, is that okay?
Thank you.
Okay. So I'm on to the next slide, just to talk about the aquatic design and get into these floor plans, because that's the fun part. Looking at the floor plans, we want to make sure, we're looking at all these design considerations because we design a lot of aquatics facilities with all of our engineers that we do this all the time, and we love doing it. So looking at accessible design, so ADA, Americans with Disabilities Acts, I'm going to try and name all these acronyms, and sorry for so many, there are a lot here, but IBC is the International Building Code, IECC is the International Energy Code Council, Compliance Code, thank you, ANSI is the,
National Standards Institute.
thank you, and then MAC is the Model Aquatic Health Code, know that one better. So we are used to those acronyms and not describing them all. So yeah, looking at the code requirements of all those things, we have been talking about building, looking at this building and making it less than 12,000 square feet, which is awesome and great for this facility. But we have to think about the current calcs come out to 425 occupants, and the pool deck and the pool and the spectator seating puts this over the 300 occupants. If you have 12,000 square feet or 300 occupants, if either of those apply, you have to add sprinklers. So that is a discussion for your team to say, I know you're trying not to have sprinklers. We've done this on a few buildings, so I understand that, or we understand that. But if it's over 300 occupants, you do need to have sprinklers. So it's something to think about is, do you want to incur those costs right now? If you wait and you add on the leisure pool or another pool or amenities in the future, it will cost a lot more. So when you're running those underground utilities, you're running domestic water lines, taps, fire sprinkler taps, something to think about. You can still, it if we have to get that occupant load down, that might be really tough because that pool deck is coming out to a lot right now. So that's the driver, is 15 square feet per occupant on that pool deck. And you need a certain clearance to meet the pool code requirements. So that's what I was like, make sure we check before we come to this meeting. I was like, make sure we check the occupant load because I think we're getting, over that 300. So
So
just
is
some.
that,
What does that calculate? That pool was what, 45 by 80? Is that right?
I
Carol?
believe,
Is it-
yeah, that's close. I
Which
have-
pool? The conceptual that you?
The one you wanted, it was 45, wasn't it? 45 foot by 85 or 80, something like that?
Approximately.
Anyway,
Approximately
was-
that,
yeah,
because
yeah.
we had the handicap lane on that.
Yeah, the 7th lane. We had 6
Seventh
lanes plus
lane.
the 7th lane.
Then you
Which
have to
makes
have
it-
deck space around it, is what she's saying.
Doesn't I get it, don't they require a 7-foot perimeter around the pool?
It's 5 feet. Yeah, it's 5
5 feet.
feet. But we usually do more for better circulation, but if we have to do 5 feet minimum, we will. If you want to reduce go ahead. If you're doing competitions, you do need more. And then behind the diving boards, you need, I think it's 10. So yeah, the diving, you'll see on the sketch we did, that there's a little bit more room for the diving. But yeah, we did close to the minimums. They might be a hair more for circulation and for spectators and for swim meets, but we'll look at that. That's a great question.
So how many people does that pool hold at 15 per square feet at 80 and by 45?
So the pool is actually 50 people. The deck is what drives it a lot. So the pool is 50 square feet per occupant, and the deck is 15 square feet per occupant. So the deck is what really kicks it over. So,
Okay.
yeah, so but that's something we can look at. I know we're trying to keep costs down. When we're trying to keep costs down, we try not to have sprinklers in buildings. We do that. So, but it's always good to think about the future too. And if you're going to add on, you'll end up having to add sprinklers then. And 5 or 10 years down the road, how much more is it to add a fire sprinkler tap, add those lines under the ground? When you have things torn up, it's nice to do it. But it's all
Yep.
good things to look at. Oh, go ahead.
Understood.
One question. As far as the sprinkler, I remember seeing it in and if it's okay to ask the cost of the sprinkler system. I don't want to do that.
I had the question also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember it being about 1% of the total cost. Is that your recollection?
It's
5,000.
It's about $7 a square foot typically, what we're seeing right now. So I'd have it, isn't that what we have from our, cost team? Yeah. So it's
85,
not,
85.
And
roughly.
actually, I could probably share that because it's already public information. The old design, the previous design in the architecture, I think it was like 61,000 total out of the $6 million project of the previous one.
Yeah.
That, just as far as a reference point for
Yeah.
doing the sprinkler system.
It's
Was that
let's
the
worry
$6
about the
million
steak and
dollar
not the peas. So let's
Okay.
keep going.
okay,
Bill
we'll
might
keep
have had
going.
I don't know if Bill had a question or statements.
You said 6 million, wasn't that a 6 to 9 million?
The actual base without contingencies of the old one was, I think, 6.3 million, and then it had contingencies on top of it for escalation and design costs.
Okay.
So, yeah, great questions, you guys. Let's see, so planning, just thinking about back-to-back plumbing, we typically in commercial buildings do back-to-back just to save money. Everywhere we're looking, we're trying to plan for future cost savings, so that's our goal. Adjacencies and efficiencies for operations, lifeguard rooms, making sure we have those spaces to operate properly. Pool equipment and pool pump pits, making sure those are designed properly. We do pool pump pits so that we run our plumbing down low and the drains go down low and it helps them operate a whole lot better. So there are certain things we work with our aquatics engineer to make that function the best it can function. And then lifeguard room, that we talked about that. Looking at master planning the site, we talked about that already, just making sure we think about the future and how that will lay out for your team and the community. And then looking at natatorium rated products. We have run into so many interesting things. We do a lot of assessments on swimming pools, and Some are good, some are not so good that we see over time. So we're going to share a little example with you about a pool that we just did an assessment on a couple months ago. And so this pool happens to be a pre-engineered metal building, and it didn't have the right finishes and coatings. We do high-performance coatings on this steel because you don't want the steel to be exposed to the elements and the chlorine and the chemicals and the humidity. We do hold with pool dehumidification units, we hold our pools at like 55% relative humidity. That's still very humid compared to our 15% average. I think in Colorado, we have a very, very low level of humidity. So unless it rains a lot, but we don't get that a lot, right?
How old is that building?
That building is from the 80s. So, but it should be performing better than that. That we see buildings from the 80s, but they just haven't been maintaining it. So like up on the upper right-hand corner, that whole rusty looking thing that's broken out, that's supposed to be a bottom flange. That is supporting their roof. And if that is not there, it's not doing a good job of supporting the roof. So we want to look at those kinds of things, make sure we're specifying all the right products to make sure it's safe. And they do cost, like a high performance coating costs more than your average acrylic paint.
And
So
I
you're looking-
imagine that'd be standard
Yeah.
maintenance, every
Yeah,
10
we-
years or so, you got to recoat. or-
And maintenance,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've
So-
had a discussion about the coating.
Okay, awesome. Okay, that's
Yeah.
great. Okay, so just important things out, and the hangers in here were all rusted out. We're gonna make them replace all the hangers. They might be replacing that roof by the looks of it. So our structural guy is going out there in a few weeks to investigate with a lift and do more measuring, and the
Yeah.
list goes on. So it's good to really
Gotcha.
pay attention to that stuff. So,
I'm
and looking,
curious, in regards to the
Hmm?
hangers, they didn't do the coating on those.
Looks like they might have originally.
they should have been stainless steel or had a coating on them.
Even stainless steel will rust with
Correct.
chlorine.
It
Mhm.
will.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep,
I do home inspections, so I know.
okay.
So, galvanized hangers, I think, would last longer,
Yep, definitely. Yep.
less
Any-
corrosion.
Yep,
Still
That's a
coated there,
very
right?
hard, impenetrable surface
yeah,
for chlorine
mm-hmm,
or chlorine acid
yeah,
to affect that, so.
yep. Definitely, anything with a coating, we want to have, and, you have to think about your fasteners that you're fastening things with, the hangers, all that kind of stuff. So we're always looking at that, and it's different than your average office space, right? Your office space, you don't need to worry about that because you don't have that much humidity and chemical exposure. So yeah, thinking about all those things, but just, I want to look at that with cost as well. And the HVAC systems, getting those chloramines off the water, pulling the chloramines off the water, you have to pull it down low, you have returns down low, your supply is up high, so you're pushing air from up high and kind of sucking it in down low to pull it right off the water. So all those important things we want to look at. So many things. So let's see. All right. Next steps, before we get to the design, we just thought we'd share design fees. I think, I don't know if you guys want to look at these in great detail, but we do a very detailed, and sorry, this is so small on the screen, but we do a very detailed design list of all of the disciplines and then the next steps. So we have schematic design, design development, construction documents, and then the permits, bid negotiation, and construction administration. And a lot of people don't realize architects do construction administration. When we do it, we are reviewing it to make sure the contractor is building it to code and building it per our documentation and per our specs, because especially in a pool, it is so critical. And then we're liable for that, right? So we want to make sure if we're liable for it, they're building it like we specified and engineered it. So that's super important to the process.
I think we have a couple questions.
Is this an example of the MEAT project?
No,
Of your
this
design cost?
This one's ours, I think.
is yours. This is your,
Okay.
We
This
just-
is design, so this has nothing to do with the
yeah, it
construction
doesn't.
costs.
No, that's why I was asking.
And this is a
Yeah.
done deal anyway, so
Okay.
they're our designer. Bill, did you have a question for Rodney?
No.
Okay, I thought I heard something, sorry. The civil engineer costs are at zero, and then landscaping costs are at zero in irrigation. So we're taking on that separately after the fact, is that?
No, because when we were asked, if I recall right, that when we bring a PSA to the board, that we would be doing only the building only.
Okay.
And then there will be many, if I'm correct, there will be some, I'm gonna call them change orders. Amendments, thank you. Amendments as we move forward. I have Sean here and
Okay.
Sherry here as well.
And at the time, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, the only thing I was gonna
gonna
offer is, I don't remember if that was part of the conversation as we were getting our PSA ready prior to thinking we would have the geotechnical to try and do things concurrently. I do think the ultimate will be that they have all the costs associated with it. We may just not, if I'm understanding correctly, be prepared to have that as part of the PSA if we want to start in December, if we want to get that PSA started in December.
Yeah, as we were assembling the fees, we didn't even have the site select. Now we have the
Right.
site selected,
Right.
but we don't know how much of it we're developing.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
we really need feedback from
Until
the
you have-
county
Gotcha.
to know
Okay.
the scope
Fair enough.
for those fees.
Thank you.
And Carol pointed out that we still have fees left over from the previous design effort that could be applied to this, right?
If we enter into a new agreement, then the fees, we already have an agreement with, Ascenza that we've been doing, and right now, we're under the amount, about $200,000. A little bit more than that, I'm
Okay.
just gonna estimate, so I didn't bring that with me.
So you're saying we would close out that one and then
Close out
reopen this
that one,
one?
and then that would just go in
Okay.
to this, is what I'm saying.
So we would receive a credit towards,
We haven't paid them anything.
Well, you paid us.
We-
I mean, we paid them, but we haven't paid them the full amount.
Yeah, yeah.
So there would
I
be
got it.
no credit.
okay.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry, we have paid them though, because they're sitting right next to me, thank goodness.
Y'all are really.
So we're
nice
just
doing
gonna,
this.
we're basically gonna.
We're
close it
tired,
out,
we're
renew
tired.
it with different
Yeah,
terms.
Yes,
Okay.
So think of it, if I remember correctly, and these are rough figures, we've spent about 450,000, I
yeah,
think, to
pretty
date.
close to that.
Yes.
Those are
Okay.
some costs we have spent that money. The remainder of what was budgeted, about 750,000.
740.
740?
Mhm.
There'll have to be a new contract and a new budget process essentially to be able to capture what the new costs will be.
Correct.
But we didn't spend everything from what was previously budgeted, is
Okay.
what Carol
All
was
right.
saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And as soon as we have the information from the planning team, if they say you can develop 3 acres, then we can say, okay, 3 acres, and then we can send it to the landscape and civil teams and get numbers from them right away.
Gotcha.
We
Well,
have them.
We're gonna have an opportunity to chime in on the landscaping, right?
What about the landscaping?
For design?
For,
You're talking about the landscaping around the building?
yeah,
Yeah.
Right, so, I mean, even with the contractors that were building homes, I think we're requiring almost zero scape.
yes, definitely, yeah.
And that's what they're looking at. They just
Yeah.
need to know how much we're gonna be required to.
Got it.
Yeah.
For their drawings and documentation, because they have to draw it per the planning department requirements. And then, yeah, they need to
Gotcha.
draw all that landscape, call out every single plant, which, yeah, will be zero scaping, definitely everything low to no water here. So, but they still have to, you have to get that started, so what does that take? So, yeah.
Right, I got it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
does that make sense? Okay, awesome, okay. So, yeah, so this is the fee breakdown with all the team members. We solicit this to all of our engineers. We ask them to tighten up, sharpen up their pencils, and that's where we ended up right now. So do you have any questions about that at first glance, or do you want to think about it and get back to us with any questions? We're happy either way, whatever helps you guys out.
It is
Bill,
what
any
it is. What it is.
Bill or Rodney, any questions?
Not yet. Sorry, still thinking.
Okay.
All good?
I don't know.
All right, feel free to, yeah, we're happy to answer questions anytime about that. So, okay, we're going to get to the fun part and talking about these plans finally. Thank you for your patience. All right, so this is the plan you shared with us, which is awesome because it really shows the simplicity of a pre-engineered metal building. We are typically working on, I don't know, 2 to 3 pre-engineered metal buildings at a time lately, just because construction costs are so high. This is a very efficient way to build a building. And we can still do beautiful buildings. It can be really simple, really basic, but it can still be beautiful. There's no reason not to make it beautiful if you're spending the money on it, right? So, you know, we took this plan and looked at all the American with Disabilities Act's requirements, all the commercial building codes, life safety codes, exiting, you know, we have to think about exiting and the doorways out, and basically all the requirements to meet this building code that we're working with. And plumbing fixture counts, I think you mentioned that earlier. So we looked at plumbing fixture counts. I think this sketch had more plumbing fixtures than we needed, which was interesting. So that's good. That's good, right? But also think about the future. Do you want to build those locker rooms out now and just meet code now, or do you want to look at the future and say, oh, if we have leisure pools, we might want a few more toilets and we don't want to add plumbing down the road for that. But maybe you do and just wait for that. But it's just something to consider. All good things to look at for the future of the building. So hopefully this makes sense, but this is a great look at making it more efficient. There were some things when we were going through the design of the previous building that we wanted to look at. And you know, this sketch was done in a week. We might have had this a week or two, so we haven't had it for a long time. And it's we would call this extremely conceptual. And we start to look at back-to-back plumbing, ease of circulation, family changing rooms, and just making sure we have the right pool equipment room. So in the upper left, you have some pool mechanical equipment. That room might be able to get a little smaller because we only have that lap pool, but do we want it big enough to house the leisure pool equipment, or do we want to worry about that when you build a leisure pool? Sometimes it's very efficient to have it all together, but we need to think about those things as we go through the design process. And then, you know, this building might be rotated on the site, right? So the entrance is right facing Aspensky Way. So looking at that, but that's what we have to look at, is how it what the orientation is on the site and how it looks and how you approach the building and where the parking is. So we'll also have to look, you know, at the inside of the building coming in. We like to kind of walk in and see the pool from the front entry. I know Carol likes the desk right in front, so this isn't quite where we want that desk yet kind of thing. So that's just, we put it there for starters, and then I looked at it and we want to redline it and redesign and refine the design as we go to make sure we're meeting all of the operational team requirements. We have 2 family changing rooms in there. We have the correct number of toilets that we need right now for men and women. And then we have a lifeguard room that's at the very bottom. And if you add it on the leisure pool, and I'll show you that in the next slide, then the lifeguard, like if we want to think about, okay, if that lifeguard room was up, say plan is north and it's up on that sheet, if you add a leisure pool, you would have the lifeguard room really far away from that leisure pool. So if it's in the middle on the bottom of this plan, and you add that leisure pool on the bottom, then you get that lifeguard room where it needs to be, and you don't need to spend money on that in 5 or 10 years if you add that later. So we want to look at all of those things carefully, and yeah, go ahead.
So just a comment, I think where the current board is leaning towards, and correct me if I'm wrong, but probably leaning towards not doing a leisure pool addition,
Okay.
but doing other facilities
Okay.
throughout the district. So we've
Okay.
already talked about doing a kiddie pool where the current pool,
Okay.
outdoor pool is located,
Okay.
or some sort of facility like that. Maybe down the road, when we have surplus funds, we can look at the leisure pool or therapeutic wing, or even put it somewhere else throughout the
Okay.
district, so we scatter our services,
Okay.
or add it to this acreage. I'm not sure what
So, if you don't mind, I chime in.
go for it.
This, in a sense, is to accommodate everybody initially.
Yes. Yep.
If we repurpose the old pool
Okay.
area, we're limited on space. So we'd be limited on the size of the building. Waiting area, kiddie pool, that you're looking at with the phase 2 portion here.
Okay.
My question is that if we attach it to phase 1,
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna drive the cost of the
Phase 1.
new building up, am I correct? If codes should change or anything in the meantime?
So that's a good question. We actually have built a number of pre-engineered metal buildings and prepped the one sidewall condition or the end wall condition, so you can add on to it. Like we did a huge tennis facility, it has 6 courts, and then we said, okay, if you want to add, they wanted to add 2 courts in the future, so we made the end wall so they can open it up, and it supports the new tennis structure. So that's the kind of thing we want to look at, is if you do want to add on, we want to kind of think about where would we add that on, and let's make sure it's prepped and prepared to support that, so it doesn't cost more. You don't have to add like a little hallway, because we've had to do that on older buildings that they didn't build that or prepare it or design it or engineer it that way. So it's kind of that, early phase planning, essentially.
The reason this question comes up is because with our fire station,
Mm-hmm.
we're creating a breezeway
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
with
it's an older
an
building.
addition.
Mhm.
And so it doesn't require all the code upgrades for the older building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so,
And that's a good way, yeah,
Because-
we could do that too.
it was gonna be, I think it was almost, 850,000 and 1.2 million for all the upgrades if we had done a remodel.
Mm-hmm.
So we would lose quite a bit of money just in the remodel. And the upgrades didn't expand on the space as far as the remodel. So it was more cost effective to go with an additional building
Yeah.
with a breezeway between.
Yeah, and
two.
sometimes it might be,
So,
sure, yeah,
That's why I was asking,
okay, yeah,
so we can
Yeah.
take that in consideration in future planning.
yeah, definitely.
About not specing this building for an addition, is that what you're saying?
Either way,
Or-
Or
you need the pros and cons.
planning on a breezeway down in the future rather than,
Right, it's
Sure.
just all aspects of it, just pros and cons.
Yeah,
Okay.
And
that's
then we
great.
can make a decision from that point forward.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, definitely.
just want to, I mean, you mentioned the other piece of the puzzle that was on the original plan several times, so I just want to make sure that may or may not happen, I don't know.
Okay,
think
yeah, that's great.
I won't be on
to
the
know.
board at that time, I
Okay.
don't think, but.
I think it's a fair point to bring up because as this board discussed it initially with the concept, I don't know if expansion was, I don't recall if the board had agreed, no expansion, yes expansion, what it might look like. I think an important thing that they may bring or that the board would weigh in on is there are changes that can make expansion easier if it's decided. Is there a cost associated with that that the board would look at as that's acceptable or not compared to the final cost? That's a fair point.
Yep, good way to summarize, thank you.
Great summary, thank you.
Yeah, we don't want entrances and doorways that's not gonna be used for 10 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
definitely.
additional cost
Yep, that's true.
right now.
Yeah,
So,
want to keep the cost down, for sure, in the beginning. Yeah, and actually, that Mead project that we shared with you, they want to add another gymnasium on in the future, like
Yeah.
in 5 to 10 years, so that end wall condition of the gym, we can add on to,
Based on what we've
So-
talked about so far, I think we're more leaning towards
not,
rec center type
oh, okay.
facilities like a gym or
Okay,
we do want to
tennis
expand.
courts or,
okay,
We
that's
just don't know what
wonderful.
the future holds.
yeah, we don't know when that
We
will
don't have
take
the right
place.
crystal ball right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's
We got
hard,
the 8 balls.
it's hard to predict the future,
Sit
right?
down and wait for that little die to float up to the surface.
Let me ask this question. Did you guys get the conceptual drawing that showed the possibilities for the front of the building?
Yes, we did, we did.
Okay. So it looks like this building is stair-stepped on the top right corner. The walls are gonna stair-step.
I noticed that too, Bill.
So, yeah, and it is for a reason. We were trying to keep it, there are a couple reasons. I'm glad you have good eyes. We're doing that for a reason. We wanted to provide an overhang and a covered entry, just for kids, families, seniors, whoever is coming to the facility, they have a nice covered entry area. We wanted to get it under 12,000 square feet. So we actually we have some imagery of like a box of, we want it to be a really simple pre-engineered metal box, but it is good to have a covered entry for that time of weather and snow that we get.
Do you know what the cost
Yeah.
difference would be? I think what Bill's getting at, what would the cost difference be of doing this staired building wall versus a square and then adding in a covered entry for patio?
Yeah, and I would say there's very minimal cost, and you can see on the upper right, there's the bent frame, the little rectangle on the upper right there. That's part of the bent frame, so we'd have very equidistant bent frames that go, so we'd still have the same bent frame. We just have maybe that little additional cost of stepping a little bit, but you still have to have a pretty much close to the same lineal footage of the metal. And then you're getting the benefits of the cover without having to add like an appendage on. Because I think you did have kind of a little shed roof entry, but did it have a lot of cover? I can't remember if it had a lot of cover or not, but it's nice to have a little cover and shade
Sure.
at that door, especially if it's a south-facing door. We want to have a little overhang over it for the solar gain because it's going to be really hot
Do you
otherwise.
recall that void area in the top right corner there? How much square footage that was?
Probably 100, 200, maybe, 400 to 500.
Oh, really?
Is that a cantilever with will it have a support column on the top corner, or is it gonna be
Yeah,
just a cantilever?
Yeah.
So the roof is a rectangle. right? So there's a column in the corner. It's just the exterior wall that would step in under the roof.
So we could put picnic tables and stuff there.
Yes, so it'd be
Exactly.
shaded
It's
outdoor
covered.
space, yeah.
So would that be, I think in the original, in the concept that I presented, the front of the building was left open, and that front was actually stick framed and stuccoed or rock or whatever. So is that a possibility to do that? Is there any cost savings there with the metal building? If you did that?
It's typically more expensive when you start adding conventional construction materials versus the pre-engineered metal building, because those pre-engineered metal building companies they're so efficient with their metal. Like we will take metal and rotate it, change colors, but if it's their metal, it's really cost effective. It's the most cost effective we've seen. And we try not to add masonry or anything else because that starts to drive cost unless planning departments make us do it. And even then we'll work with the planning department and say, well, can we do it all metal, but we change the color, rotate it, whatever we do to it. But we did the Parker Racket Club, and they had very strict requirements in the planning department. And they said, you have to add masonry around this whole building. And it was going to be like $60,000. And we were like, why would we do that? It's a tennis field house building. And so we said, well, what if we do this, change the planes? We actually turned the columns outward. So the columns went outside of the building, and it was essentially the same cost, because the pre-engineered metal building guys are like, well, it's still the same amount of metal, and they do a lot of their buildings by the pound and tonnage of metal. So it's very interesting. But yeah, so I think adding on like stucco adds cost for sure. If you can use their prescribed metal with their profiles, it ends up being really cost effective. But it's worth asking. That's a good question. If you like the stucco look, and I know you have a lot of stucco in the area, then it's something to consider. But that adds another trade that's not the pre-engineered metal building trade. So we try and keep it in the wheelhouse of that pre-engineered metal
That
building.
makes sense.
Yep. Okay.
Hopefully that helps. Good questions. You guys have good questions. What else? And I think we might have put a party room in there, and I think you guys didn't want a party room, so we can take that away, and that's the kind of thing we want to work through with you guys. But I know Carol loves a party room because she wants to make money on it. But so something to think about,
Very popular.
They are very popular. We usually put them in all of our pools.
I'm not against a party room if we can fit it in within the
We'd
same
bring in
square
extra revenue.
footage.
You're gonna lease that out, right?
Exactly.
We would rent it out for
Yeah.
pool parties, just like we did at the outdoor pool, and we were booked all summer long on a Friday. We used to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then with the usage that we had, we moved it to a Friday, Saturday only, but we were booked the whole summer, and that was before the summer even started. So they're very popular here for having pool parties during the winter months, birthday parties, any kind. I mean, there's nowhere else to
Can you
go.
do me a favor, Carol?
Yes, sir.
Go back and pull what type of revenue stream we have from that?
Sure. I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah, that'd be great, just to know that.
Joe,
You
you
should
have
be
to
able,
offset it with expenses too. You don't just
Exactly,
get
that's
revenue.
why I was
Well,
asking.
yeah, lifeguards,
Yeah,
correct.
that's why I was asking for it, yeah.
The only expense would be the lifeguards, because you're still paying for the chemicals in the water. The water's still gonna be there all night. I mean, there's nothing additional except for, again, the lifeguards for the 2 hours. And we limited it to 50 people, and we only had 2 lifeguards on. So,
Do you close the pool for the public then?
yeah, but the pool was already closed because the pool was only open until 5:30 to the public. And then from 6 to 8 was the pool party. So it was
Okay.
additional hours
Gotcha.
beyond open to the public.
Okay.
You guys mentioned competition, swimming and meets and stuff like that. Is there anything that you have, and I have no idea the demand of competition swimming in this area, but if we desired to make the pool set up for that, is there a difference in how you have to do it versus what we've already talked about?
So that pool is currently set up for competition. So
Oh, okay.
that's essentially very similar to the lap pool that was in the original facility and meant for competition. And then they just take the diving board and they flip it up, but the starting blocks go at that end and wrap around the diving board. And then it's all set for competition. So those are
Okay.
competition lanes right now with flags and, backstroke flags
Okay.
and yes, everything's all ready to go there. And fully accessible with the ADA ramp. we always like doing that instead of a chairlift, because people don't love a chairlift, and it's not as, you feel kind of exposed, so.
And we've noticed it's not as efficient.
Yeah,
Was that
yeah,
Bill?
it takes forever, yeah.
I want to thank Brian for pointing this out, section 23,
That's from the 2025 budget.
right? No,
20,
yeah, 23. In the budget analysis of 2026, it shows that the swim pool rentals in 2023 brought in 3,200 roughly,
Probably.
and then
I don't know that off the top of my
Yeah.
head. We're close.
estimated about 4,200.
and that's just for 2 months, because that was for the outdoor pool.
Exactly, that's where I was going to go.
And that's all it
Yes.
is for 2 months.
Yeah, so,
And if we budgeted a higher number, I mean, we have to factor in weather. Because again, it's 6 to 8, there's
Right.
lightning, there's rain, and we cancel at that point in time. So,
Yeah,
Okay.
so I appreciate you pointing that out, Brian.
Yeah, no problem.
That's where I was going with it,
Yeah, I figured,
year round.
but if we could fit it in, it'd be great to have that one pool party room.
yeah, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say that'd be a good direction to go to help subsidize some of the future cost.
Okay.
So before we get into any more, Bill or Rodney, do you have anything to add?
I think the one thing I would, additional cost to the pool would be, obviously infrastructure, because it's a complete structure. We've already, discussed ways ahead with that. The other thing I think would we, try to see if we could offset something with, I think, electricity. Because I think electricity would be a lot more than the outdoor pool, simply because we got a lot more things going on within that facility. So electrical costs would be one of those things we could look at offsetting. I think we could maybe see about putting on some solar panels to help offset that stuff, that kind of cost.
You gotta remember also.
I know it's a little bit more expensive, but in the long run, I think those solar panels and having some solar electric will help offset some of that cost as well. Because it's going to be a year-round pool where the other one wasn't, so we're looking at electrical costs too. So.
Yeah, no, that's agreed. And gas, correct? It's going to be gas water heaters for the pool?
Yeah. Unless you do geothermal, which is very expensive.
And there's no electric,
Would it make it?
there's no efficient electric water heaters.
Yeah, would it make any sense to make everything electric if we're gonna?
Yeah, if we're going to do solar.
Possibly. We are electrifying a pool in Denver. It's very expensive, but sometimes they're getting grants for it too. So we're also,
Expensive.
UMA's looking at grants for certain things, and we're doing heat pumps for a whole bunch of things, so.
So expensive in terms of remodeling it, or expensive
Just the first cost.
initial
First
cost of
the
electric versus
system.
gas?
Yeah, yeah.
And your solar panels aren't gonna offset your use. You know, you're gonna need a huge solar farm to offset.
You'd need.
Yeah,
'Cause
Yeah.
Gas is definitely far more cost effective
Yeah.
for
Okay.
heating.
the other thing is,
Pool, but for electric in general, just the basics of the operating
the general operation.
Lights and so
function,
forth,
Daily
yeah, yeah.
function of the pool.
Yeah, daily functions of the pool.
We can, sorry.
The other thing that you gotta take in consideration is we don't have that heat to cold transition with it being outdoors. Because overnight you can have a 20 to 30 degree temperature drop.
Mhm.
So then it's gonna have to heat up longer to maintain that water temperature. There's gonna be less evaporation, okay? So, there will be a cost savings by it being indoor,
yeah, for
compared
sure.
to having to reheat that water
Definitely.
constantly.
Same way with chemicals.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
a big cost of, I mean, indoors, it'll be the chemicals, the cost will go down on that,
yeah.
definitely.
And the
Okay.
dehumidification units recover heat from the humidity too. In an outdoor pool, that's just lost.
Okay, good
Nothing like
points.
breathing salty air.
Good points. So I appreciate the solar comment. We probably need to look at what the cost of the building will be before we get into, well, the cost of the entire project will be before we get into looking at additions, so that we can maintain our budget. But,
For the outdoor pool, I'm sure the electrical costs weren't as much as what we're looking at for the pool that's year round. So that's the only thing I would say would be the biggest cost expenses, the more electricity being used.
yeah,
And we can certainly look at and do kind of an overview of sustainable opportunities and share that with your team and,
I would wait, so we're not paying for that work to
Okay.
be done
okay,
until we know that we can afford it.
sounds
Right.
good.
Yes, sir.
A good call.
Yeah. Bill, did you have anything else to add?
No, I look forward to the board and design team and the committee, however you want to put it together to get to doing specifics so we can give them direction on what we want in the pool. And
I think that's what today's meeting is all about. So they,
we need to get a committee, in my opinion, that says, okay, we don't want that stair step wall, or we do want that stair step wall. We do want the party room. We need to what we want. I think the more we give them, and correct me if I'm wrong, the more information that we can give them as the entity that's wanting this, what we want, our desires, helps them in designing this thing. So that's why I would like to get together with Carol and whoever else she wants to put on this team and say, yeah, this is the building, we want the rectangular building. Let us hash out these things so that they're not spinning their wheels.
so I think that's what today's meeting was all about, Bill, is to agree on the conceptual design, whether you want to approve the stair step wall or just make it square and do an accessory overhang. I think that's what we need to decide on today, so that the designers can get moving on their architectural plans and we can get it out to bid.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if, I would agree, I think today's is to at least get the overall concept for it, but if there were changes that came up, or if recognizing there might be an opportunity,
But you pay for those changes along the way.
Change orders cost money.
They do, I'm not disputing that, but the intent would be if there was a change or something proposed or somebody wanted, then there could be potentially touch points where that gets reviewed on those specific cases. But I would not avoid the conversation about it being today, understanding that the intent is to get a pretty consistent or finalized concept.
I think what's really important too is to have the spaces, like make sure if you want the party room, okay, we need the party room. There are things like the pool mechanical room that may not need to be that big, it may need to be bigger, so we need to go through a design process. We can't just, we kind of threw it together very quickly, and that's not how we want to make sure it's thoughtful design, and then we want to go to our engineers and say, do we need this pool equipment room to be this big, or can we get more spectator seating for you guys?
Well, that's why this is conceptual. This isn't the architectural drawing.
Exactly,
So
yeah, so as
but-
long as you like the general spaces, and if there's any spaces you see, like we have a break room that's associated with the desk, if you like the general spaces, I think that's really important for today to help us move us along, and then it'd be great to have like a building committee meeting and have a workshop with I don't know if there's a broken out team you're going to assign to it, or how you're planning on doing that.
I think that's our plan.
Okay,
To
That's
have our
what
own
you'll
little
want.
pool committee, and then they'll interact with you guys.
okay.
So we're not deciding on this today.
I think the spaces, so if I understand correctly, the concept of what's going into the building, they will still have to go through a review process, and what I was specifying earlier was that
Okay.
if any major changes came from the permitting, said you needed X, and that
Okay.
could deviate from it, that would have to probably be reviewed.
Okay,
I
so
don't-
let me,
Go ahead.
sorry, let me just review the two things that I've heard that we need to make a decision on before we start that pool committee. So the stair step design on the wall, do you guys want to keep that or square it off?
Okay, I got a couple questions of Carol before we go with the stair step design of the wall.
Okay.
Okay. So, months back, I went to Sterling. They have an extensive aquatic park. Okay? And they got pavilions around it. Okay? So, if we were to keep the original design without the stair step front, what's the likelihood of being able to get grants to incorporate some pavilions close to the front of the building to provide that shelter, and also community activities outside?
There
I
are,
think you're adding way more complexity to this project that's gonna move it down the road. You start applying for grants and waiting for,
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about after the build. After we build it.
And she doesn't have a crystal ball either, Greg.
There's not very, just to
Yeah.
be, we don't have a lot of grants that we can apply for because we are the Metro District.
Yeah.
Looking
Okay.
for those grants, it's very hard. They're very competitive.
So there's no consistency or,
No,
okay, all right, then no
No.
reason to consider that. By keeping the original design, do we have the potential of two party rooms, one without a pool and access and one with, to bring in extra revenue?
I mean, I think that's the key, is if you want two party rooms, we would look at this and make sure we can find a place to put two party rooms. That's our job as designers, so we could help you to do that if that's something you really want as a board, and, yeah. And
So
I
if
think,
you-
and
Okay,
do keep in
something to
mind,
consider, if we keep the original design and keep it rectangular in shape.
oh,
So, okay, so I guess the question now is, do we want one party room or two party rooms?
that's why we need a committee, or we need to talk about this stuff and get other input. This was a design that they put together in a week. I don't know that that's necessarily something that they thought we were going to approve as the design. So I don't understand why we don't want to meet and get everybody's input that is
Well-
got something to say about it. But then, you know,
To your point, Bill, that's just gonna delay the project. You get a committee that meets 3 times over 3 months, that's 3 more months that you lose.
Yeah,
I'm not saying 3 months. I'm just saying at some point in December, is there a possibility to get together to talk about this? Is that going to delay it?
yeah, no, because I think that's part of the design process. We typically work through our designs with our teams, so we don't just, come up with a plan and not vet it out. So we would want to vet it out and make sure you guys love the plan and really, we want to look at the exterior too, like how does that look? What does it look on the exterior? If we can keep a rectangle and not have any extra pieces, does that save money? Does it add money? We want to look at all of those things. So that's part of our design process.
and I know you originally said to keep it at 12,000 square
Mhm.
feet. And you're talking about an additional 4,500 by keeping that in there, right?
Yeah, or 450, I think we
So-
said too. Yeah.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm curious what that extra 4,500 would cost us.
450.
450, I think we
450.
said,
I was
yeah, for
rounding
that
it
little
off just to
overhang, but.
Keep it simple.
But I mean, we do a lot of shade pavilions, and we do prefab shade pavilions, or we do custom, and they range from 40,000 to 80,000, 100,000. Even some of the ones off the shelf are really high priced. Everything costs too much right now.
I hear you.
So,
Okay, so
Yeah.
as I understand it, then this was just a general presentation of what you've come up with to date. You want to have this other committee meeting in December at some point. You guys want to set a date right now in time, so we all know? We're all prepared, we don't have that going back and forth?
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Let me look at my calendar.
Okay, let's do that.
would be mostly in Sims's court, right?
What are good days for you guys?
Are we talking about mid-December?
Probably between the 8th and the 19th.
That'd be great.
I apologize, I understood that this was as far as that.
That's the direction I was given, so that's what I thought, yeah, so.
and before they start working, we do want to bring the PSA to the board at the next board meeting, so we can.
Talking about the contract.
Yes, the
Yes.
contract. The professional service
Correct.
agreement, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Yes,
Which would be the 8th, so if that is approved, then anytime after the 8th would work.
yes, anytime after the 8th.
What's your pleasure, board, what day?
Could we do Monday the 15th?
In the evening?
In the evening, just about to pull? It wouldn't take long.
I'll be gone.
Ooh, if you're
Yeah.
going into the concept, I would expect multiple hours.
Yeah,
Usually
So
our
you
design
wanna do
meetings are
Friday
2
the
hours.
19th?
Yeah.
I mean, if it was
Yeah.
gonna take no time at all, we could get it done today.
Friday the
That's not the
19th?
I've heard 2 dates, Monday the 15th or Friday the 19th. We're looking for a 2-hour block.
I'm gone after the 15th, but I'm also, I don't know that I'll have much feedback. So,
I'm of the same opinion.
Are you available on the 11th? looks like I got 5 things going on the 12th.
Yeah, I could do the 11th depending on the time.
Senza, do you have availability on that? Krista or Dane?
That's a good question. Should we ask?
Yeah, go for
Dane
it.
has a question.
Sure, ask.
Are we talking about a committee or are we talking about the whole board?
What are we doing? I thought we were trying to set up a committee that gets information to get to the board and to.
Right.
I'll wager in, I would love the board to decide on what they would like to see. Would that be a full board being involved, or would they like to identify 2 board members, and then staff would probably be the appropriate staff?
I personally would be happy with 2 board members.
Yeah, I'll
I'll be one.
recuse myself from it.
Yep, same.
You'll recuse.
I vote Bill and Greg.
Yep. Second,
I would, one,
not that we're actually voting, we're just playing around.
Yeah, I'm just joking, kind of.
So Bill and Greg, would you both be willing to be part of the new aquatic center committee?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Would assuming the 11th works,
11th looks good right now.
any
Yes.
specific
We'll
What
work
time?
it For you.
time frame, like 10 a.m. to,
The whole day looks great
Whole day?
right now.
okay.
So what time, Bill?
Bill, what's good for you?
We're talking about
I'm
December
good.
11th.
Early morning's fine with me.
Can we shoot for
We
10?
just have to, they do drive here from Denver, so we want to give them enough time to get down here,
So
and respect their
10
time.
a.m.
So-
okay,
10
start
a.m.
time?
What
Well,
time?
6 is,
10 is good. Can we even make 9?
9 o'clock.
9 is
Nine.
better.
Okay,
'cause then
so
we leave before-
they're asking, is 9 a.m. okay? On the 11th of December.
9th, 11th.
Perfect. December 11th, 9 a.m. here.
Greg and Bill,
Here?
Greg and Bill.
That sounds great.
Thank you.
And also we need to,
Gomer and Pyle.
Christian, we need to will we have a meeting before then?
Well, there'll be the board meeting on this 5th and 8th, where we'll also have to approve the
PSA.
professional service agreement, PSA contract.
All right, all right.
So, can I just be clear on what we're doing on the 11th?
Thank you.
So on the 11th, we're bringing a committee with 2 board members here at 9 a.m. to discuss the plan and narrow the plan down. Is that our goal?
Yes,
Correct.
Conceptual plan. Okay,
yes.
just want to make sure.
And from there, it's going to architectural drawing, so this
There won't be
This is-
another touch point.
This is
on the board.
finite, as much as possible in order to save us as much money as possible.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay,
Is that correct? Okay.
just want to make sure.
Okay, just want to make sure we're on the same page as we move forward.
You know.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Anything else for Senza before we move on?
I think that's it, isn't it?
I would assume so.
I want to say thank you
Yeah.
for the presentation, the patience with our questions. We are the voice of the community. We were elected to these positions, and we've been tasked to ask these hard questions. And we feel that our community deserves to have as many questions answered for better understandability of what this board does and what our employees in the district do to provide them the amenities that they have in this community. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you too, Carol.
Thank you. Great, thank you. It's great to see you guys, and we're excited about the project.
Thank you for the good questions. We appreciate good questions, and we definitely want the best for your community as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Unless, I'll just make one more comment, unless anybody in the community missed it, the timeline from start to finish, once we have this committee meeting on December 11th, correct, is about 18 to 20 months.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure.
The summer of
Just want to make sure.
2027.
Summer
Just
of
want to make sure everybody's
2027.
aware, so we don't get questions, why isn't the pool done? Why isn't the pool done?
Shoot for less. Okay.
Yeah, fewer, yeah.
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
said earlier. Hope for the best, and
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you again for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thank you for your time.
at
Okay.
this time, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We have closing comments.
Oh, yeah, do we? I don't have any.
No closing comments from Greg, none from Chris. Bill, do you have any comments?
Well, thank you guys.
I'm sorry?
I said, thank you, guys.
Oh, right on,
Thank
thank you.
We look forward to meeting you in person.
Rodney, do you have any closing comments for today?
everybody's ability to adjust their time and make this happen, and just work for what we need to work for in the future, and looking forward to seeing what we come up with.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you also to Bill and Rodney for jumping on virtually. I know that's always tough, so I appreciate you willing to do that. Christian, do you have any closing comments?
Nope, I am good. Thank you very much.
All right, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
Motion,
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank
all.
you.